just the games. It's Toucher and Hardy, Zolak and Bertrand, Felger and Maz, Joe Murray. For Boston sports fans, it's 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Red Sox had last night off after taking 2 of 3 in Seattle earlier this week. They'll open up a 3-game series in San Francisco tonight against Rafael Devers and the Giants. Devers was 1 for 3 yesterday in a 2-1 win over Cleveland at Oracle Park. He's 3 for 11 as the DH in his first 3 games with his new team. Red Sox also made some news yesterday by sending rookie Christian Campbell down to AAA Worcester. Wilyer Abreu will be activated from his brief rehab stint with the Woo Sox to take his place on the Major League roster. In NBA news, we'll have a Game 7 in the finals this year. That's because Indiana blew out Oklahoma City at Gainbridge Fieldhouse last night, 108-91. Indiana led by 22 at the half and by as many as 30 in the fourth quarter. Obi Toppin 20 points. Tyrese Halliburton added 14 while playing through a strained calf muscle. Game 7 is Sunday night back in Oklahoma City. ESPN reported yesterday the Celtics' asking price for either Jaylen Brown or Derek White in a trade would be insurmountable. And the Knicks reportedly met with former Sacramento head coach Mike Brown this week as their search for a replacement for Tom Thibodeau continues. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
If you've got the app, you've got Toucher and Hardy to wake you up no matter where you are.
Or who may or may not have been to jail.
Get the app, the 98.5 The Sports Hub app.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Toucher
When has that been necessary to fact check?
and Hardy
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
on 98.5.
Hey there.
Sarge GPT loading up.
Let me hear you say, "Boo! Boo! Boo!"
Crush me, mommy.
Say my name.
I'm a robot.
I'm the son of the Pope.
I'm a goddamn drag!
Yeah, good luck, dude.
Nothing like a good tushy.
I love you. And I think you know that.
Excuse me?
Toucher and Hardy
Watch Daddy and Uncle Freddie.
Knocking back some fat and having some fun.
on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Let's go.
Gotten fights, many, many fights.
98.5 The Sports Hub, Friday edition, Toucher and Hardy show. Fred is off today. Hardy is off today. We do have the rest of the crew in, though. Adam 12 over there. Ryan Beaton, Nick Gemelli. My name is John Wallach. We'll be here until 10 o'clock. 617-779-0985. We are inside the Town Fair Tire Studios. So with Fred and Hardy out, we have WBZ TV's Dan Roach here. We have Michael Holley here. He's a teacher. He's a former radio guy. He's a TV guy. He works all hours of the day, although teaching is done. So now...
Teaching's done.
Where do you teach?
But is teaching ever done? Is it ever
Not in
done?
life.
The best part about teachers, I've never met an educator that wasn't counting days, like at the beginning of March. You
But-
know, 80 to go, 70 to go. Was that you?
But see, here's the thing. You just said a word. I was at a comedy show. D.L. Hughley. So D.L. Hughley is one of those comics who will go into the audience and
Yeah.
just start freestyling on people in the audience.
Right.
So I was there with my wife, and she said, "Oh my God, he's coming to us," because we were like in the fourth row. I said, "He can't see us. Yeah, we're just one row beyond his reach." But one of his lines at people, like he said, "Hey, how you doing, ma'am? What do you do?" She said, I'm an educator. He said, "How's that different than a teacher?" And so I would never. She's right.
I see.
So, educators. You're a teacher. It's fine.
Okay.
You're a teacher.
A professor. You're a professor.
Which is a teacher.
Okay.
It's fine.
But the only thing
So-
that's different is a doctor, right? Is a doctorate if you have your doctorate.
So what? PhD? And you're a
Still
professor?
a teacher?
Guess what? Yeah.
Okay.
You're a teacher. But yeah, it's
What do you teach?
class is over. I teach journalism
Where?
at Boston University.
Really?
Yes. Would you like to come to class?
No.
Oh, why not?
Because I got
why
nothing to
not?
say.
I
No
would.
more
You know what?
journalism.
No,
I
you
would
should come
sit
to
in.
class.
I would sit in on a class of yours.
No, I'm talking about come to class and share your insight.
Kids, it's
Share
dead.
You
Yeah,
asking him?
I got
or you asking
both
me?
of you.
I would love to.
Both
come in.
of you.
Next
Hey,
year. I
here's
would love to
John
come in.
Wallach, on the air every day. He is doing what you want to do. And he doesn't have to pay $80,000 a year.
I know. I had to pay a lot less.
which
than
is
that.
which is what it costs.
More than that now, isn't it?
It's like between 70 and 75,000.
Well, here's
Isn't that nuts?
BU?
Yeah,
It's
BU.
more. It's closer to 90.
No, it's not 90. But it will be soon.
I'm just going to hurry up.
It keeps going up.
Hurry up or
Time
it's
to go
going to
to
happen.
Google.
Now, you know Gary Tangway is also a teacher at Emerson.
Yeah.
I went in and spoke at Gary Tangway's class. This is well gone over material, but since you haven't heard it, I'm going to tell you. Gary had me and said, I want you to tell the kids what it is and how you're doing and what you're doing. I'm like, fine. I showed up. I spoke for, the class is about an hour and 10 minutes long. I spoke for 40 minutes. Gary did nothing. Gary stood there. Gary sat.
That's why he brought you in.
Why?
He
why
sat
you?
and he said, I spoke for 40
Exactly.
minutes, and then he led a question and answer discussion after that. And, class is over.
Facilitating. So what you're saying,
Hardy
John,
went
is
in.
this.
Yeah, Hardy went in and spoke for longer. He had audio and stuff like that.
Gary
And then
said nothing.
Exactly.
So-
We figured it out. Gary's having all of his friends in, so he doesn't actually have to teach the class. Tell me that's not what you do.
No. It's a lot more than that. It's a lot more
okay.
than that. No,
I bet you're good. I bet you challenge the kids. And all that
exactly.
Kind of
See,
stuff,
thank you, Dan Roach. That's what I do.
right? By the way,
Bring
it's
'em in.
not 94,427. Total cost of attendance.
Of tuition.
BU.
94.
Yep.
But that's if room and board and all this stuff.
Right, that's limo to
what
and
if,
from
what
class.
If you live at home? Can we not? How do we?
Oh, then it's 93.
This is
Sorry.
what I'm trying to. How do I knock that? How do I knock that number down? So what you're saying is you want me to pay 94? How about a little aid? What do we get to?
Yes.
Oh, 80.
We'll give you 2,000.
75.
I used to hate that because when both my kids were in college at the same time, we were like, can't you give us something? We have
Something.
2 kids in college.
They're
Well,
like-
we'll knock $5,000 off.
No, they'd be
Well,
like, wait a
thanks.
minute.
You know?
Can we give you something? I saw you on TV last night. Hey, you must make it.
Oh,
you must
yeah.
make more than
Exactly.
Stephen A. Smith, don't you?
I have twin boys who are now freshmen in high school. Okay, so you and I both have kids that are not in college yet. You have 3, right?
Yeah, 3.
I'm gonna have 2
Here it comes.
twin boys at the same time, double tuition 4 straight years. So you guys are telling me these numbers. It scares the ever-living crap out of me. I look every day at my 529 fund. Do I have enough? Do I have enough? The answer is no.
You can't.
There's impossible to
Yes.
possible to have enough
Because you
money.
go into the biggest debt of your life when you buy your first house, right? That's the biggest thing.
Right.
And then how are you supposed to have kids and put that money away and how much money and save enough to buy? You can buy books for one of your kids. That's pretty much about it by the time you're done saving all that money. And I know why you're teaching at BU.
Well, I was going to
It's 'cause
say.
you have kids that aren't in college yet. I know what you're doing.
There we go. Hey, here's the savings plan. Hey, how you doing with your grades? Are your grades good enough to get into Boston University? Because that's the plan.
Exactly.
That's why I'm doing it. You must get into
Right.
BU.
Michael was let go 10 years ago on the journalism staff, but he's
You
now the
must.
He cleans the gym.
You
and
must
it's part
get
of it.
in.
All right. Before we continue, and by the way, we got a fully packed show that we went over just a couple of minutes ago at our normal pre-show meeting. We have a little bit of controversy on the program before we even get started. Oh, yes, we do.
Man.
I got in, as I normally do, very early, like 5:15. I'm doing double duty here. We're doing updates, and I'm going to run through what happened last night. We're hosting the show. And, Dan always gets in before everybody, even though he really has no responsibility whatsoever. Dan shows up at 5 a.m.
Why is he here? What's he doing?
Talk to the man here. He's sitting here.
What do
Prepping,
you?
go over stuff.
what
get
do you-
my
what do you-
mind organized.
What? So why are you trying to show up the host? You trying to
Not
show
trying to
up
show up
Wally?
John at all.
I think so.
It's a
I think-
ritual.
It is
Yeah.
habitual. We're all stunned, but that's not where the
like,
controversy
where the hell is Holly?
That's the controversy. He spent about 20 minutes asking me where you were. We're all here. We're all here. Where's
Yeah,
Michael?
well,
Then I
Where's
heard you
Michael?
booming
Where's
laughter
Michael?
Yeah.
And then
through the
you
walls.
you stroll in, and I'm used to this because I've worked with you before. I know the habits of Michael Holly before a show. So I'm like, he'll be here, Dan. Don't worry about it. He'll be here. We're all here. We're all preparing. Where's Michael?
He's calling me out, huh?
Yeah. That's exactly what he was
I was
doing.
pacing.
And he never, and I didn't get a text from him. Hey, are you okay? How you doing? Hey, did you maybe you overslept. I'm just checking on you.
Yeah.
No.
Those days are gone.
Just killing me behind my back.
Exactly what happened. And
Yeah.
I knew you would be here. I had never had any doubt.
So what you're saying, you have confidence and faith in me, but
Yes.
Dan Roach
I don't
doesn't believe in
understand
me at
why
all.
Danny was going on
Where's
and on and
Michael?
on. Here,
Michael?
explain yourself.
I was just, where's Michael? I was concerned. Hope he's okay.
But 12
Why aren't you
knew.
here?
12 knew.
12
Oh, no,
knew.
you walked in.
And you know what? And 12 has
I could
actually
hear
checked.
you laughing through the glass.
Well, they were having a good. I walked in, and the party was already started.
I know.
I just joined the party.
I
We have
know.
a good
I'm
time
not-
in here.
They
I'm
were
the
having a
subject.
good time at it was like 5:20, 5:30. They're already like they're kicking it. All right, they're having a great time.
The
Yucking it up.
substitute teacher is in, see.
But can I
Part
tell
of the
you?
problem.
I know,
See,
right?
Dan Roach learned from Adam 12. Learn from Adam 12. So a couple of weeks ago, maybe longer, I'm not here, and he's concerned that I'm not here because he also has faith in me. He's like, hey, he's usually here.
Yeah.
Something must be going on. And he called me. Thank God he called because I couldn't get into the building.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, wait, okay. And I couldn't think, it's early.
Yeah.
Who
do I call?
What do I do? Who do I call? Like, do I have this number? Whatever. And he called. I said, I'm so glad you called. Because I can't get into the building. Can you help me? He's like, oh, I knew something was up. See? But Dan Roach would be sitting here at like 5:57 and be like, hey, where is he? No call, no text, nothing.
Shut his mic off.
That's it.
Usually,
I will know now in advance. Next time, I will call you at 4:45 when I walk in.
Not 4:40, after 5.
I know.
This after 5. Actually.
So usually with Dan, it's an APD. It's an all positive day.
It is.
He's being very negative.
No.
For
I
this
like
all
that. Keep
fun
that
time
going.
here. Yeah.
I've heard you be negative before. I like this.
No,
side
I
of
get
you.
yelled at for like
I like
Monday.
this-
I came on to talk about the Devers trade, and I got screamed at by the 3 people in the studio. And I was just trying to say, guys, there's layers to this. I was just trying to explain it. I wasn't even saying I like this deal. I never
we
said
did.
it.
We kind of did.
I went to a charity golf
They
tournament.
sputtered. They sputtered on you.
I'm at a charity golf
we were
tournament for the
all
Boys
over
and Girls Club of Lawrence.
Oh, stop it.
On-
Don't wrap yourself in that.
on
Cut
Monday.
it out.
And-
Cut it out. You don't get to do that.
Everybody
No, you
kept coming
don't.
up to me
You don't
saying,
get to know. I was at a
"What was
charity
wrong with
event.
Fred?"
Here I am.
You don't cloak yourself in
Doing it for the
intelligibility.
youth.
That's not how this works.
I'm trying to inspire the youth of America.
I was
for the children.
And
I
look
was
at you
doing
guys.
it for the children,
They
and you
love the
guys were
books.
yelling at me. Cut it out. That
But the
sucks. What you
children
just
love
did.
the books. Remember that, Nell?
My God.
So I was at this tournament, and I literally had people coming up to me saying, what was wrong with those guys? Why were they so angry? I'm like, I don't know. It was Monday. I was in a great mood. I didn't like the Devers deal.
wait.
I said it, too, right from the start. I would have made the deal, and then they didn't want to hear anything else. Everything else, I was, pro-positive, Red Sox, da-da-da-da. No. I tried to explain the deal.
They're trying to you're like one of these great actors who is trying to stretch, who's trying to get out of character, but they keep pigeonholing you.
Right? Right.
They won't let you out.
Oh, that's right.
You are
we pigeonholed Dan. He's way
a
different than
prisoner
that.
of character.
Yes.
Okay. He's trying to
Thank
say,
you,
look,
Michael.
I got more to my game. Did you hear? And I love this. Dan Roach. Did you guys talk about this? Dan Roach, Stephon Diggs' first media availability.
No.
Dan Roach is going there. Hey, what's up? What's up? Tell me about the boat. I need to know what. Hey, Stephon, not like, hey, how you feeling out there? And you look good, like you're moving. Hey, what's up with the boat? Tell me about Cardi. What's up with Cardi?
Did you say Hardy?
Hey,
No, Hardy.
No, Cardi. And can I call you
No.
Big Daddy too?
That's not Dan.
Like all those women on the boat were calling you.
Then
Can I
the
call
Tom Curran
Do
hook
you-
comes in.
What was in the bag?
What was in the bag?
Yeah, Curran says, "What's in the bag?"
You have him confused with Steve Burton. Burton would go up and go, "What's up with the boat?"
I know.
And then step
No.
I did,
The
though.
boat.
For some reason,
That's
I
right.
came out and said it.
The
Yeah.
boat.
Tap you on the chest with your microphone. The boat.
The boat.
Hey, buddy.
There it is.
That's Steve
Is
Burton.
that a question?
Right.
Sure.
That's
whatever.
not Dan. That's the guy he works
at
with.
at his introductory press conference, we were asking different questions, and I asked him a question, and he said, "Mr. Roach, nice to see you again." And then he answered the question. Because in
Mr.
Buffalo,
Roach.
I made news in Buffalo. We were doing our pregame show,
Yeah.
and I was picking my fantasy picks, and Stephon Diggs was right behind me warming up, and
I remember this.
Diggs was one of my picks.
Yeah.
So he started going behind me, started mocking and imitating me and everything else as we were going to break and stuff. And it made news. People were like, "Do you know him?" And I was like, and Buffalo reporters are coming up. "He's not like that with us. Do you know him?" And I'm like, "No, I never met him in life." So before he came out, Stacey James showed him the video, and he said, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And that's what he said. He was just kind of being cool and said,
Mr. Roach.
How are you?
It's pretty good.
You got to respect your elders, man.
That's right.
That's what he was doing. He was
There you go.
respecting your elders. When was the last time we worked together, Michael, on this show?
A month ago.
Okay.
Month and a half.
And it was you.
Somewhere in there.
It was you. It was me. It was Hardy, right?
Yes.
Okay. I thought that was right. The thing I remember about that show is that all of a sudden we took a vicious left turn and we started naming music that we would play at a pool party. You remember this?
See, that was maybe that was another show. I've been haunted by that one.
Really?
I was haunted.
It was great.
The pressure of coming, because there was a guy. Here's the thing. I remember the details exact. That wasn't the last time. That was probably like
All right, but
before
that's the show that stands out to me.
Look, bro. Here's a guy. Guy called in, and he already put one hand behind my back. I don't know if you. So 12 was not here at this time.
No.
So 12. The guy says, "I'm having a party. I'm inviting all these people, but I can't play. They don't like hip hop." I'm like, well, first of all, I don't want to be at your party.
I was going to say,
I don't want to be.
They're
Who
uninvited.
are these people?
Yeah.
Who are these people that you're hanging out with? I don't want to be at a party with them. But anyway, he said, recommend some music that's not hip hop that they'll like. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm still trying to kind of shoehorn hip hop in there. And it just scrambled my head. I had some bad picks. I had bad picks.
Did you really?
Bad ones. Yeah, I did.
Hardy's thing was give me 3 songs that you would play, that you would add to a playlist at a pool party. And, it's off the top of your head. Hardy's list was far and away the best. I don't remember what it was.
Mine was the worst.
I had LMFAO, Party Rock. I went
Talking
for like
baseball,
Pitbull on there, John?
all that stuff.
Get a little Pitbull on
What's
there.
that?
You get some Pitbull on there too.
Yeah, maybe it was bad.
Yeah, it's just
Bad Man
a
Pitbull,
party list
whatever it was.
for basic Bs,
But
basically.
what we had was, what Michael came up with was, I think, is it Anderson .Paak? Is that what you came up with?
Yeah.
And Hardy and I looked at it like, what the hell is he talking about?
Yeah.
And then it was another 5 minutes of him trying to describe what Anderson .Paak was. And then they played Anderson .Paak, and it was nowhere close to a pool party song. Nowhere in the same vicinity.
Anderson .Paak. I had Anderson .Paak. Had a Tribe Called Quest.
What's the definition of a pool party song? Like,
right.
What do you want to hear?
So that's. I'm telling you.
How about I Get Around by the Beach Boys?
We're on the same page. We're on the same page.
All right, Dan.
Because I'm like, okay, what's the vibe? Is it like?
I don't know.
What's the age range? What's the
Yes.
vibe? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to get everybody? Is everybody? You trying to get everybody laid? You're trying to get or.
Is this Caddyshack and the old synchronized swimming?
Because then I can adjust the music based on expectations. I mean, just tell me what your expectations are. Or is this a neighborhood party?
Right.
Little kids running around. So I'll edit.
I don't know.
I'll edit based on the little kids. I don't know.
All right. So Dan,
it messed with my head.
Don't ask me. I don't know.
All right. All right. I'll ask you another question, Dan. What kind of music do you listen to? If you don't, I mean,
All
he
over
just
the
told you the
place.
Beach Boys.
well, I mean, is that it? You don't.
No, I listen to like country. I listen to just basic.
You see, I think this is interesting because every time we talked about music, you're like, oh, let's play
I'm all
Terry
over the map.
Cashman. Let's do that. Well, we happen to have a guy. Now that I'm thinking about this, we happen to have a guy, Adam 12, who is a music genius. That can pretty much get you. Well, do you not program your own radio
I
station?
do program a radio station.
And
it's true.
you used to before you blew that one up. But
That's right.
it's
Damn. Hey, listen. He's
blown up many.
Gloves are off.
It's gonna be a tough day.
It's not even 6:30.
My track record is sketchy.
His track
at best.
record is not good, but he's here with us, and we love having him. But
Thank you.
we have a guy that could probably fulfill any request you might have for the rest of the morning.
That's right.
Dan, if you have songs that you want to have played, I have a guy right here that can help you with that.
I'm bringing in my sheet and my pen during the break here because I got to give John some
The
copy
Wiz
anyway.
Kids had won it.
So
No. I want you to give this an honest run. I want you to give this an honest run. I want you. No Terry Cashman. If you're in the car.
Willie,
Oh God.
Mickey, and the Duke.
Say hey.
I'm serious, Dan. I want you to give this an honest run. I want you to give Adam
know.
12 a few songs, and he will play them for it, coming
Yes.
back from break.
All right.
How about the other Terry Cashman? This is for Teddy ball game.
That was 2005 opening day. Were you there for that day?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 2005 opening day. The song took 6.5 minutes.
It's great.
He's standing there playing guitar and can you please introduce the players? Let's go.
he's just doing
Stand
his
out the
thing.
way.
Was it raining that day? Was that the rain out?
I don't think it was raining that day.
No, it wasn't.
No.
That was the day Mariano Rivera.
That was the
got a
Rivera
standing
tip of the
O.
cap. Yeah,
But
great
yes,
moment.
but that was after the 6.5 minute Terry Cashman song where he's playing and where they're raising the 2004 championship flag.
He thought it was a work of genius. I remember I think Ordway interviewed him. Hey, so Terry, tell me about this.
It's true.
Hey, listen, I'm really proud of the song. The craft of it.
Pens and paper.
I really wanted to get it all together. I wanted to incorporate. It was a special day. I wanted to bring it all together.
What year was Ray Charles there that day?
Ray Charles. That's right. So that was the rainy one.
That was opening day,
got
but
rained out,
they
though,
didn't
first,
play the
right?
game
Yes.
that day. They just had Ray Charles
They
sing
had
the
Ray
anthem,
Charles.
and everyone left.
That was the infamous Tom Werner was standing with somebody that I know, and they were listening, and as he was warming up and everything else on the field, and all of a sudden this guy looked to his right, and it's Tom Werner, and he's going like this. He's waving to Ray Charles. And he turns to him and says, Tom, he can't see.
That guy was almost the commissioner of Major League Baseball, ladies and gentlemen. He finished runner-up to Rob Manfred in the voting.
But I bet you Ray, you saw the movie Ray. I bet you Ray knew it because he had instincts. Remember they didn't give him the right amount of money?
Yeah.
And he kind of dived on the guy. He's like, hey, listen, that's an undercount. So, hey, don't mess around with Ray Charles.
All right, 617-779-0985. We have Bert Breer for the 7 o'clock hour. Jeff Goodman's going to talk NBA and some real interesting stories. The draft is next week. Jeff Goodman knows all of these kids. He's known them all since AAU. He can give us an idea what the Celtics may do late in the first round. He has an interesting story on a would-be top 3 draft pick. Adam 12 has a game for us in the 8 o'clock hour, but when we come back, we'll do what happened last night. We'll start with the NBA Finals. We have Red Sox. All of that coming up this hour. Friday edition of Toucher and Hardy, Dan Roach and Michael Holly in here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub. Sounds like this? This is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy, the Sports Hub.
Did you catch a game last night?
Friday edition, Toucher and Hardy. John Wallach, Dan Roach, Michael Holley here on a Friday. What happened last night is brought to you by Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, where your hair doesn't have to be a game of what happened. So change your lettuce and change your life with Dr. Matthew Lopresti at 1-800-GET-HAIR. We will talk to the Red Sox a little later this hour, and we'll all gang up on Dan Roach and make him feel terrible about himself.
Good.
But that's later. We're going to do the NBA Finals here. Game 6 last night in Indianapolis. The Pacers trailed Oklahoma City 3-2. And even worse, their best player wasn't 100%. Tyrese Halliburton, suffering from a strained right calf muscle, and while he was listed as questionable, was given the green light to play about 3 hours before game time, and he wound up being just fine.
Halliburton has it. A three from the left edge, right through the middle.
Couldn't come at a better time there. Pacers defense is solid. Got to heat up here a little bit.
Pacers took about 4 minutes to make their first shot of the game last night, but once they started scoring, the game was over. They blew it open with a 17-2 second quarter run. They led by 22 at the half and never looked back.
Nembhard with 5 to shoot. Can't clear the shot. Up top, Siakam beats the shot clock and delivers a three.
Siakam in shot-ready position, just waiting to receive that pass. Just beautiful execution, lets it go.
Pacers led by as many as 30 in the fourth quarter. Everybody cleared the bench. They beat Oklahoma City 108-91. NBA MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was among the many who struggled for his team last night.
The way I see it is we suck tonight. We have to learn the lessons. And we have one game for everything we've worked for. And so do they. And the better team Sunday will win.
He scored a game-high 21 points. Indiana head coach Rick Carlisle will have his team ready as well.
One game. This is what it's all about. This is what you dream about growing up, this kind of opportunity. It's a very difficult place to play. We know that. The opportunity to play in a game like this is a great honor and a great privilege.
Game 7 Sunday night in OKC. It is the first Game 7 in the finals since 2016. What happened in 2016, Michael?
Chase down block. Warriors upset by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Up 3-1. Draymond Green with the propensity to go after your nuts.
Yep.
Went after LeBron James, suspended for, was it Game 5?
Yep.
Gave them life, and the Cavaliers won it.
Funny thing is, Draymond went crazy in Game 7. I think he had 30,
he was
30
unbelievable
and 15 that night, and they still lost.
That's when he could score.
Yep.
That was the Draymond Green who could score, and he almost had a triple-double, didn't
Yep.
he? He had a lot of assists in that game, too.
Almost had a triple-double, but as for the here and now, I'm amazed it's come to this. Oklahoma City was so good all year. They're bigger than Indiana. They have 2 all-defensive players in their starting 5. They have the MVP of the league on their side, and they can't put this team away.
Matchups, right? It's how do you match up against certain teams? They don't match up well against the Pacers, who just run all over the place and can just keep going. And I would do that same thing if I'm Indiana coming up in Game 7. Like, just continue to do what you do, be you, and just go have a blast. And that's kind of what they've done to everybody.
Indiana is incredible, but both of them. Because if you look at both of these teams, like I would take, if you look at the Celtics, I would take Jason Tatum over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I would. I'd take Jaylen Brown over Jalen Williams. But then if you look at, and obviously any 2 Celtics over any 2 Pacers. But both of these teams are player development like giants. I never look at anybody on the floor and say, get that MF off the floor. Right? They don't have those kind of guys where you're like, oh, this dude can't play. I don't care if it's McConnell for the Pacers, Mathurin, who's been up and down, but he can still play. I don't care if it's Obi Toppin for the Pacers. Caruso for OKC. I mean, they got so many guys. Cason Wallace, Lou Dort. The shot sometimes is crazy, but the guy's built like an outside linebacker for the Patriots. They just have, both of these teams have so much depth and guys, not just depth, but guys who know how to play. You don't look at him and say, "Oh, he's a great athlete if he could ever figure it out." There's some pretty heady basketball players on both teams.
It's one game. That's the cool part. Because
Yeah.
you sit there and say,
I can't wait.
OKC got blown out. They're going to bounce back at home.
Well-
They're not going to play like that. But it's that Game 7. So do they come out a little tight because it's a Game 7? I mean, it's just like – and my favorite stat from last night was Jalen Williams in Game 5. What did he have?
40.
Right? You know what he had last night? Minus 40. That was his plus-minus for the game.
He was minus 40 last night. He can really play, too. He's a really good player.
The weird part about all of this, and this is kind of like the way the NBA playoffs has gone, nothing is a sure thing. And you have players that have rapidly developed in no time. Aaron Nesmith couldn't get out of his own way when he was here. And all of a sudden, he's turned into a defensive stopper who makes every three he takes. Now, he did that at Vanderbilt, but he didn't do that when he was here. So all of a sudden, he is an extremely core piece of what Indiana does every night. He takes the best player, and he guards him and then comes down and is responsible for 4 or 5 threes a game. Look, Miles Turner led the league in block shots, I think, this year, as well as multiple seasons because Wembanyama didn't play. But Miles Turner is a great shot blocker. He has developed a three-point shot, and all of these things have accelerated to the point at just the right time for Indiana to make this run. If Indiana were to win, I saw this stat somewhere, if Indiana wins the title, they'll be the first NBA team ever to win a championship that wasn't a top 3 seed and wasn't a defending champion.
Well,
Wow.
first team ever.
Yes, that was the stat I saw.
So the stat you saw, so that wasn't a
top 3 seed
not
in
a
their
top
conference
3,
and not a defending
and hadn't
champion.
won it before. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, because there had been 4 seeds as defending champions.
You saw
and the Celtics have done
Cleveland do
in the
that
past.
during the LeBron years.
And then Houston did it, the
Houston
second
did it too.
Elijah one, but
Right.
they had won the year before.
Won the
So
year
way,
before.
way back when.
Yeah.
Too.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
this would be the most improbable title run of all time, and nobody saw this coming.
No, improbable
Nobody.
and impressive. I mean, think of if they can pull it off, and it's still a big if
Yeah.
because that's a tough challenge, as
Yeah.
Carlisle said, going to OKC and winning.
Yeah.
But you,
Those fans are nuts.
you knock out Giannis, and that wasn't a surprise. They beat the Bucks. They kind of own the Bucks now. But then you take down the 64-win Cleveland Cavaliers, second best record in the league. You take out the Knicks, who had beaten the Celtics, and the Knicks are feeling themselves. So home court advantage, Cleveland has it. Home court advantage, New York has it. And then a team that wins 68 games and has the MVP of the league, they also have home court, and you knock them down. So it would be beyond impressive. And not to mention, not to say I'm paying attention, but I am, the odds. The bet, because Daddy's
what were
got
they?
some action on this one.
What were the Pacers going into the
Plus
series?
1,400. Plus
You said that pretty quickly.
1,400. Oh yeah. Oh, I got.
With,
I got stuff on this one.
When did
daggers
you
in
hop
your
on
eyes.
board? When?
Yeah.
Before the series started, with those odds, I thought. Look, when I saw what they did to Cleveland, I said, it's one of those. And John and Rochi, man, you've seen it before. It's just one of those rare times where a team, they're not the most talented team in the league, but there's always a little blip.
Get on a run.
Where you win it. So it was the 04 Pistons. I said, they're going to be the 04 Pistons. They're going to win the championship. It doesn't make sense. I'm picking them. I think they are going to, the money aside, I'm picking them to win the
And
championship.
here's the other thing. What was the MVP odds? Do you know? For Indiana? Because I was listening last night.
Finals
watching
MVP?
TJ McConnell has the way he's played the last several games.
He's been great.
Right? What are the
He was
odds
great
of
last
him
night.
possibly being
Hold on.
MVP?
You compared this team to the 04 Pistons. The 04 Pistons at least had Chauncey Billups. They had a Hall of Famer on that team.
But we didn't think so at the time.
No, but looking back at it, this Indiana team, I think, is worse than that Detroit team. I don't think they're nearly as good.
Okay, but let's go.
I mean, that
Detroit team, they had Rip Hamilton.
and Sheed, right?
Rasheed. Oh, okay. So Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace.
Yeah.
Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups. So solid.
That team plays Indiana, 7-game series. They win in 5.
I don't think so.
Oh, yeah.
I think Indiana is one of these teams, John, that when they win the championship, they still won't get the respect that they deserve.
Correct.
So
you
they'll win.
trying to will the money.
They'll win it at the parade. At the parade, somebody will say, "Hey, I got OKC tonight." No, it's over. They've already won the championship. This is I think history, because we have some distance, 20 plus years from that Pistons team. I think we're giving them a lot more grace than we did at the time. At the time, You looked at Ben Wallace, who was in Celtics camp many moons ago, who was kind of like a reject guy.
No, he was a good defensive player and a great rebounder at that time.
Yeah, but Ben Wallace was.
He was an all defensive player.
I know, but you didn't look at
rebounder in the league.
But the Celtics had played them. The Celtics, had played them. Detroit in the 2002 conference finals. They went right at Ben Wallace. They beat him. No problem. Who cares? Ben Wallace.
2002 was New Jersey, wasn't it?
But before that was in the
Eastern.
But I'm saying in the semifinals.
Okay.
They played Detroit.
Yep.
Rick Carlisle, I think, coaching that team.
Yeah.
And so, look, I'm not saying these were bad players, John, but at the time when you had the Pistons were taking on the Lakers had Shaq and Kobe and Karl Malone and Gary Payton. And nobody said, oh, the Pistons are going to win in 5, and they did. That was a fine team. It was a solid team. It was Pacer-like, where you have a lot of good players, but they don't think they had an all-NBA player on that team.
Do you look back? You think we're going to look back at this Indiana Pacers team and find a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, probably.
You think Halliburton is a Hall of Famer?
So Chauncey Billups as a Hall of Famer, the guy played for how many teams? 8. How many teams did Chauncey Billups play for? Seriously. Yeah. It was like 8 teams.
Celtics, Minnesota. He wound up in Detroit.
He finished. You don't even remember. He finished with the Knicks.
Denver.
Do you remember Chauncey Billups on the Knicks? Nobody does.
No one remembers.
So I think he played for like.
Did you have money on him?
Did I have money on Billups?
That's why you remember him?
No, I didn't have money on that one. I probably put money on.
God bless you for being honest about this. I'm psyched for you. That's
pretty awesome. I'm rooting for you now.
I would say if Chauncey Billups is your Hall of Famer, I mean that speaks for itself. If you look at all of the NBA Finals MVPs, I would put him in and this is saying something because it's Finals MVP. It's an honor. I put him in the bottom 10 of guys who have ever won Finals MVP, probably the bottom 5, and I respect him. But Finals MVP. You've got Tim Duncan, you got Michael Jordan and Larry Bird and Hakeem Olajuwon
too. I mean,
but he's in the bottom 5 too.
Okay,
he's in there.
All right.
So I think the Pacers. The larger point is the Pacers. No first team All NBA guys, but just a really good team, a really deep team. That anytime I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Mathurin scores 25 points in Game 7. If Obi Toppin might give you a double-double in Game 7. Yeah. So they're that kind of team.
7 teams, by the way, for Billups.
7 teams. And you're saying, hey, he's a Hall of Famer. And he played for 7 teams. So that kind of makes the point.
And Sean Grandy posted this, too. Road teams are 4-15 in Game 7 of the NBA.
However, the last
Cleveland,
time
Washington,
the
Boston,
last
Boston.
time there was a Game 7, as we were just discussing, Cleveland won at Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
You won't be surprised. Hey, nerds do nerdy things. So I think last summer I just went back and watched as many NBA Finals Game 7s as I could.
You didn't.
I did last summer.
Why?
Because I just love this kind of stuff.
Where was your family and everything?
I was just going to say, you have 3 kids and a wife.
Well,
who allows you the 12 hours to do this?
Kids were away. Kids were at camp.
Kids were at camp. All right.
And my wife was like, oh, whatever. Go ahead and do it. But
I was in prison for a week.
Just for a little bit. But I love watching teams like compete for a championship. But I love the celebration. Whoever wins it. It didn't have to be my team.
Wait a second. How many did you watch? Did you watch all 21?
Well, I didn't watch. I watched the interesting ones.
How far back did you go? Are we going 1969 Bill Russell against the Lakers?
I did watch that one. The Celtics had a huge lead in that. They almost choked that thing away.
Oh my God!
Thank you, Nelly, for that shot.
No way they showed.
You
saw the entire game.
Oh yeah, they show it. You can go to YouTube and watch it.
Wow.
So I think
what did you deduce from all of these Game 7s?
Did you take time out to eat? I mean,
right. This is.
My God.
Eat. What is that? Popcorn.
My Lord.
Get the popcorn.
Sitting in his easy chair, looking at his phone.
I'll tell you what started. What started the research project was I had convinced myself that I had watched, and this is just a weird thing. I had convinced myself that I had watched the Sixers sweep the Lakers in 1983.
Okay.
I said, oh, yeah, I saw that. I saw that series. And then I started watching the game. I was like, no, I did. I was 13. The game was on late, probably was on tape delay still. I didn't stay up and watch the game. So it blew my mind. Now, that wasn't a game 7. I was like, oh, my God, this was a great game. Look at Moses Malone. He's got like 22 rebounds and all this stuff. So then I went to game 7, 84, Celtics-Lakers. I'm like, okay, I need to see more game 7s. That was exhilarating. So I just kept,
Next thing you know, you're down that road.
Now I'm up to 88. Lakers Pistons.
That's awesome.
And so I just kept going.
Holly stuck on the high of basketball.
And then I kind of went back to 1969 because I wanted to see the Lakers suffer a little bit.
Dad, we're going to dinner. You want to come? No.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm good. I'm good.
Good. I'll see you guys a little later.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I'll tell you about Mo Cheeks.
All right, 617-779.
Who?
Mo Cheeks.
Mo Cheeks.
Hell of a point guard. Ask Freddie. He had a framed uniform at one point. 617-779-0985. We'll take a timeout. We got the headlines coming up next, and then we will discuss Dan Roach's favorite topic, the Rafael Devers trade. That is next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Red Sox had last night off. They get back to work tonight, and this game should be interesting. They open up a 3-game series in San Francisco at Oracle Park against Rafael Devers and the Giants. Yesterday, the Red Sox finally demoted the struggling Christian Campbell. He was hitting 158 since May 1st. Indiana beat Oklahoma City last night 108-91. That sets up a Game 7 of the NBA Finals on Sunday night. And ESPN reported yesterday that the Celtics' asking price for either Jaylen Brown or Derek White in a trade would be, quote, insurmountable, unquote. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Enjoy quick and convenient vehicle maintenance this month. Visit NewEnglandOilChange.com for 15% off your drive-through oil change at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, the official oil change of busy people. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7 o'clock.
You're listening to
Finger on the pulse, Fred. Seldom right and never wrong.
Right here. Is that Toucher or is that Hardy?
I know, looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub.
Boys,
Right before you go in,
Jesus.
right before Steph Diggs calls you Mr.
Are you
Roach.
saying Devers is gone?
Yeah, here it is.
Yes. And I just pulled up neutralized negativity on my Twitter feed to get ready for John.
Okay, let's get to the Red Sox. Jesus Christ, Danny. They had last night off. They still made some news, though. Christian Campbell sent down to Worcester after starting the season with the Major League club. He was hitting .223, but had only 20 hits in his last 126 at-bats, and only 4 of those 20 hits were for extra bases. And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but in my opinion, Alex Cora and upper management ruined this kid. He went into the expected tailspin. He had a very good April, but instead of sitting him down, maybe giving him a day to rest, to reset, they hit him fourth, had him play left and center, and allowed him to take ground balls at first base. Dan, organizationally, this is a failure with Christian
It depends on
Campbell.
how you look at it. I mean, the Woo Sox got better tonight, right?
Okay. $7 million a year goes a long way in Worcester,
Yes,
too.
but guys,
so he's got his
I think,
contract.
I think,
This is Rusty Castillo.
Here it is.
But I think-
Congratulations.
you have to look at it first of just like, let's give the kid time and see if he can get himself back together in AAA. I mean, you're going to have bumps and bruises with all these kids. Roman Anthony's gotten off to a slow start, really slow. Marcelo Meyer's going to struggle. Every rookie, pretty much every great rookie, every great prospect struggles.
Okay, but when prospects struggle, they sit down or they don't keep playing. Or, I mean, Roman Anthony is 2 for 27, and Alex Cora keeps hitting him third. You know, Marcelo Meyer is just getting his footing. He's playing out of position, by the way. He's hitting fifth. Christian Campbell was in a 7 for 78 tailspin, and he hit cleanup 3 straight days. There's a way to go about doing this, and the Red Sox
I don't
aren't
think he
doing
has a
it right.
choice at this point.
You can pick names out of a hat for that order behind the top 2 guys before Devers was traded. Hit Campbell ninth. There's a lot less pressure
you could have.
there.
You could have.
I don't mind doing that. I would have done that.
But I
mean,
think
if you're going to second guess them, yes. But at the same time, I just think, you got to go through this phase and you got to see what happens when he goes down and gets better. It's just part of the process of baseball. You know that.
I think it's really dangerous to have Roman Anthony struggle and keep hitting in a high leverage place.
But I think the second guess for Campbell goes back to spring training. Last year he's a minor league player of the year, and you look at all the numbers that he put up, across several levels. And that's always a telltale sign, too. Hey, minor league player of the year, he hit 330 at like 2 or 3 different levels of the organization. So they had him on the fast track. He played, and you were there in spring training. He played in the spring. He didn't distinguish himself in the spring. It was almost like they were hell-bent on putting Christian Campbell on this team. He didn't earn the job in spring training. And then once they signed him to the contract, I don't think this has ever happened for a minor leaguer. I've never heard a Red Sox minor leaguer a month into his career, anybody in the organization saying, hey, what a celebration. This is a celebration, not just of Christian, but it's a celebration for our whole organization. Hey, high A, give yourselves a hand for your development and your scouting of this kid. He's a month into his career. I didn't hear that, Dan, about Nomar. I didn't hear that about Roger Clemens.
Dustin
I didn't hear.
Pedroia.
No, what are we doing here?
Well, you know what that's doing? That's trying to get somebody excited about the team.
But
right? That's all it is.
But you're excited about the team if in April everybody's excited about the team because you think hey, this is the year. So I just feel like I don't think they've ruined his career. That's going too far. But I think they've ruined his first year unnecessarily by elevating him before he was ready to be elevated. And then moving him all around. John, so he's played, what, second? He's
Left,
played first.
Center. No, he did not play first.
He volunteered for first, was pissed off Rafi Devers.
Right.
Oh, how dare he show me up? Hey, Rafi, he's not trying to show you up. He's just trying to avoid being demoted to Worcester.
Second, left, and center.
Come on. Second, left, and center. And he's all over the lineup. He's struggling. He's scuffling. It's just too much. He shouldn't have been here in the first place.
This is a significant. He's not going to be back in 3 weeks. I mean, this is going to take some time for him to come back.
And I hope he's fine. And I hope let him go to Worcester, reset. I didn't expect the irony is, of all of these three, of the big three, I thought he would be up last.
And
he was up first. Probably
that was a positional thing. No one else. Like they wanted Vaughn Grissom to be the second.
They needed someone to play second base, and that's why they forced it on him. Basically.
All right, real quick. Sox play Rafael Devers tonight. He was 1 for 3 yesterday in a 2-1 Giants win over Cleveland. He's 3 for 11 with an RBI as a DH in his first 3 games with his new team. Hunter Dobbins pitches tonight. I think it's fantastic that the Red Sox made this move, and now they have to play him.
Figures, right?
The first weekend afterwards. I hope Devers puts 2 in the water.
Let's go to Michael. What's the odds, Mr. Odds of him putting one in the bay?
All right, listen, I'm not a degenerate. Well, not this month. So I don't know what the odds are, but this may be some action. You may want to put some action on this one. It really depends. Here are a couple things. One, do you think he puts a couple in the water?
I think he absolutely puts at least one in McCovey Cove. Sure.
Do they hit him?
I was going to say, I need the Pedro quote, right? Wake up the damn Bambino and I'll drill him in the arse.
Does anybody hit him?
No.
Hunter Dobbins. It's
you don't
perfect.
think so?
No.
Right out of the chute.
I don't.
Right in the butt.
The Red Sox aren't smart enough as a team to do this. I'm telling you, they do so many dumb things in the field, running bases. They do so many fundamental dumb things.
Yeah.
The right thing to do would be to hit him, but they're not going to do it. They'll give him free rein. You want this inside fastball? We're not going to come too close.
Not going to make him uncomfortable?
Clean that out, by all means. Sure. No. Devers is going to have himself a weekend. Devers is going to, in the 3 games, Devils will have like 5 or 6 hits, a couple of home runs. Giants will win 2
They're
out
not
of 3.
a disaster yet, by the way. Right?
Who?
If the playoffs started today, who would be the third wild card team?
But John is. I think what John's point about fundamentally.
Yes, they've had issues.
They are.
Majors.
I mean, and we've seen it before. We've seen teams like last year. The Yankees went to the World Series and finally it caught up to them. They were a bad defensive team, and we finally saw it in the clinching game of the World Series. But the Red Sox are a flat out bad defensive team.
And
I think they're better now.
They're better
because they're figuring out where guys should play. Marcelo Meyer at third base
has
is a
been
good solution.
He has been good.
Right?
He has been good.
Story's great at shortstop.
But why do they still lead the majors in errors, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a dent that's already there. It's going to be there the whole year because of how bad they've been. But I think they're better. They're getting better defensively because they're able to put guys where they should play.
So when Bregman comes back and takes his position,
maybe
or do they ask him, hey, Bregman, we don't want you.
No. Here's
Can
what
you go to first,
right.
Alex?
Here's what they should do.
He's going to be back, by the way, in like 2 weeks.
Right. Here's what they should do. They should put Bregman at third, Meyer at
short, and Story at second.
Yes.
Story. That should be the infield. That should be the infield. And by the way, the Red Sox have won all these games. They've scored like 20 runs in their last 8 games. They're not hitting. The pitching has been unbelievable.
But that's okay. I mean, prior to yesterday's 7 spot, the Yankees had scored 7 runs in 7 games. Teams do that.
I understand that, but it's not sustainable. We got to take a break. Don't
go to break. It's not sustainable. Shut up.
It's time.
Right.
Hey, listen.
I know you're in Chatterbox. I know you got to get it in.
He's got the lead.
I'm in control, damn it.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. That was what you said. Why didn't you just say that instead of?
Shut up, Danny.
He's in the number 1 chair, so you just got to defer to him.
This is my time. All right. We got a 1 hour down. We got 3 to go. Bert Breer's in here for the next hour here on 98.5.
Let's take a break, as I said.
Cleveland. In all, he's 3 for 11 in 3 games for his new team, all of which have been as the designated hitter. Red Sox also made some news yesterday by sending rookie Christian Campbell down to AAA Worcester. Wilyer Abreu will be activated from his brief rehab stint with the Woo Sox to take his place on the Major League roster. For the first time in 9 years, we'll have a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. That's because Indiana blew out Oklahoma City last night, 108-91 in Indianapolis. Obi Toppin 20 points for the Pacers, who cleared the bench in the fourth quarter, and that's after they pushed the lead as high as 30. Game 7 is Sunday night in Oklahoma City. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Gem Plumbing, cooling installs, and 24/7 service. Go to AskGem.com. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7:30.
And that is the way that the Bruins season will end.
In Game 6, New York 119, Boston 81.
The Bruins and Celtics face off seasons full of question. Who stays? Who's traded? Who's drafted? And what it all means for next season. We've got it covered. And you can talk about it here. Boston's Home for Sports, the Sports Hub.
Hey, listen, if you've got to go, we understand, but make sure you bring the Sports Hub app with you so you can hear more of Toucher and Hardy.
That's what I want on my tombstone.
On the Sports Hub.
Is this the original or is this De La Soul?
It's not the original.
Okay, De La Soul. Okay. Good call. Good call. Apparently,
I told you, I just know that he knows. So it's just like throwing a no-look pass.
I got you, Mike.
And he's got it. So dunk it.
We're having Dan Roach and Michael Holley program the music today. Dan picked something out of Ted Lasso, a very slow song from Ted Lasso. They got everybody pumped up.
Are you guys like alternating, like by a break or okay?
I don't know.
Wallach's got some in there too.
I don't know what's going on. All I know is that I originally wanted Dan to share his musical taste, not the hokey, we're talking baseball and all that stuff. I wanted Dan to really dig deep. And okay, what kind of music do you like? And by the way, Bert Breer is here. He's a senior NFL reporter and lead content strategist for Monday Morning Quarterback. He'll be here for the entire hour. But before we get to any of that, we finished last hour talking Red Sox, and Wally in Rhode Island has a question. Wally.
Hey, yeah, I agree. They should hit him, or at least scare him. Pedro would, Schilling would, Clemens would, and also first bat at Duran, I have him bunt and see if he can waddle and make a play.
Well, first of all, and thanks for the call. First of all, he's the DH.
He's got a DH.
He's not going to be on the field.
Not first yet. He's going to get there. He's going to do whatever it takes for the team.
You got it, Skip.
But
that's right. Whatever you need, baby.
I would hit him. I would absolutely hit him. I would clean him out with a fastball. And I don't think the Red Sox are going to do that.
No.
I don't see it happening. As we said before the break, they do the fundamentals poorly. And by poorly, I mean atrociously bad. So they don't have those messages that are said.
So they got the game plan against Rafi Devers. They know his weaknesses. Inside, make him uncomfortable, just make him think a little bit. You don't think they can do that without hitting? I'm just saying, hey, I'm going to give you a little chin music, make you keep you on your toes.
I don't think they can do that.
That would require the pitchers to execute, Michael.
I don't think Hunter Dobbins can do that.
I was going to say,
I don't know.
And you just missed Garrett Crochet, so Crochet will not be a part of this series.
That's the other part of it. So we'll see. Red Sox against Rafael Devers tonight, tomorrow night, and Sunday. I'm saying at least 5 hits, probably 6 for Devers against the Red Sox. But let's change subjects because Bert Breer is here. Bert, it is the off season. I've often wondered, and we've talked to Christopher Price, we've talked to a bunch of people. This is the one dead period of time for you guys in between the end of mandatory minicamp and the beginning of training camp. This is like the one time you guys have to enjoy yourselves before you get right back into it.
Yeah, I mean unless you have kids, I guess.
We're asking.
It's
Bert,
almost like it's almost gotten because I was outside at a lacrosse tournament this weekend in Long Island, which is harder to get to than you think. I would say it's like when you have kids. Like before I had kids, it was great. You go away and my girlfriend then, my wife now, like you go do this and this, and it would feel like you had. Like a month felt like a lot of time, and when you have a kid, it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, and so we are going away for a couple weeks, but there's also a bunch of other kids stuff we got to do.
You have lacrosse and you have hockey, which are probably the two toughest sports.
No question. Yeah.
Although I would say this, like, after dealing with people in hockey, everything else seems easy. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
They are the most bat bleep. You know what? Like, yeah. So
what happened in Reading? Something happened in Reading.
Oh, I've witnessed people waiting for. I've witnessed like adults waiting for people in the parking lot. I've witnessed people waiting on the boards for the ref to come out for a confrontation with the ref. I mean, it's I keep a very low profile.
A buddy of mine at work,
games.
6'5", 350 pounds, had to go to some games because his son was reffing, and his son was a good sized kid, in high school volunteering reffing at youth games, and he had to go to.
They legitimately have they legitimately have a referee shortage because
no one wants to do it.
Yeah, that's right. They don't want, if the money is not good enough. The abuse, and it's constant. It's and every place. You've been some of these high school basketball games.
Mm-hmm.
They all have the announcement at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I know, right?
Hey, please be respectful of the officials. You'll be thrown out of the game if you don't do it the right way.
Yeah.
And it starts up immediately. First couple minutes of the game. I mean, people do it. And so it's just not worth it for some of these officials.
My whole thing is like, what are you telling your kid if you're doing that? If you're sitting there yelling at the official, what are you teaching your kid?
I'm trying to get you a scholarship. That's what a lot of the motivation for a lot of parents.
You know what? I would imagine.
Which, by the way, like, I hate to burst everybody's bubble here. Not only is that difficult to begin with, but you want to follow the economics of college sports now, right? What a lot of people don't talk about with college sports is a lot of people said it's a business. It's been a business forever. Pay the players, right? You know what the other side of that is? If you really want to make it a business, guess what's going away? Scholarships in the sports that don't make money. And I hate to break this to people, but for the most part, there are two sports that make money, and that is it.
Football and what? What's the other?
Basketball.
And men's basketball.
Okay.
And football overwhelmingly so. Men's basketball, some schools it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like so the economics of it. The reality is football has subsidized so much of this forever. If you're going to start paying the players, then that's great. That's what they should be doing. But it's going to change the economics of everything else too. And I've had people say, well, pay the football coach a little less. I went to one of those schools. You know what they're not going to do? Is pay the football coach a little less.
Right. That's right.
That ain't happening.
How much does Ryan Day make now?
I think 11 or 12.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and he's still not the highest paid coach in college sports.
But if you look at how much money those programs bring in, it's simple economics. Like you could argue, like if you look at the academic standards of like an Alabama or a Clemson in the time that Dabo Swinney or Nick Saban was there, like those schools would tell you those guys more than paid were worth more than what they made,
and they were able to attract a certain type of coach that other schools can't get. Like. For instance, assistants at Alabama, it was a factory to get other guys to better paying jobs. Ohio State, their defensive coordinator just left, right? Oh, you guys have Matt Patricia. Congratulations. You guys have Matt Patricia as your defensive coordinator. How are you feeling about that?
I think
Bert feels good about it.
I think
Bert feels good about it. I don't, but Bert does. I know Bert does. We can have some Buckeye disagreement here.
I think
he likes it.
Well, at least he went to the school. What is your excuse? Exactly?
Let's see, 4 years versus 30 years of growing up in the state. So you take your pick. Is it being a Buckeye at birth or being a Buckeye by degree? I don't know.
So which is more legit? All right, which is more legit?
But he doesn't.
What do you think?
Does he have all right, so you're wearing a Celtic. No, but to be fair, you're wearing a Celtics shirt. Do you have any less of a connection? Does he have any less of a connection to Ohio State than you do to the Celtics?
I've actually worked for the Celtics.
Well, that's all right. So that's
you
a bad
Ohio
example.
State?
Then there you go.
I just grew up there.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have.
It's
some
a different
connection.
environment.
No,
it's just a totally different environment.
Anybody, if you grew up there, you're a Buckeye. If you go to Ohio State, you're a Buckeye.
Which is more legit, Michael?
Don't try to call
the guy who grows up or the guy who goes there.
Don't try to cause any kind of Buckeye.
No,
I want to know the answer. Do you feel that you are more of a legitimate Ohio State fan than he does?
I don't look at it that way.
Yes,
Of
you
course
do.
not.
Absolutely, you look at it that way.
But if you say, why are you a Buckeye fan, I would say, because I grew up there. I mean, that's what I would say. Just like if somebody said to you, well, you worked in other places, why do you have this attachment to Massachusetts? Because you grew up here. It's in your bones. It's in your blood.
All right.
I mean, you guys have played Paul Feinbaum.
That's true.
I think Paul Feinbaum's show is populated with a lot of people who didn't go to the schools that they're yelling and screaming over, right?
That's true. Hey, look, he's a genius, by the way.
Yeah.
He is a genius. He has cracked the code. He has figured it out.
He's the puppet
He knows
master.
his audience. He lets them speak. It's awesome the way things go.
Paul Feinbaum is a great example of he knows exactly what he is doing. Now, he won't admit it, but he knows exactly what he is doing.
No, he comes off as a certain type of person, but he's the smartest person in entertainment.
He knows.
That was great.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he knows exactly.
Knows
what
his
he's
audience.
Doing. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, Bert is here, and I don't know for football news. The only thing that's really happened in the last week.
I do have a take on the Devers trade and how.
Let's hear it.
Wait a minute.
I've been kind of holding this.
Don't put him in a box.
Oh, he's holding it in.
But I've listened.
Holding it in. All right.
So as you guys know, I'm a big listener of the station and the show and all of that. And I think one thing that's interesting from a big picture perspective that no one has really hit on here is the changing face of owners across sports and what they're really competitive about. And I think one thing that people miss on this one is I think owners now, today, versus owners 20 years ago, they're almost they're more competitive about doing good business than they are about doing about putting a good product on the field. A lot of them. I'm not saying specifically one group versus the other, but one thing I've learned in covering this for the last 20 years is they don't make fun of the team that loses. They make fun of the team that can't get out of its way from a business standpoint. So the guys who, when you get into those rooms, they're pointing and laughing at Mike Brown because he's putting his dad's name on the stadium instead of selling the naming rights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're more competitive because that's who they are. To be fair to them, that's who they are. And so, I see the Devers thing as trading the contract, and is that just John Henry's? Well, that's bad business. And I just see a lot of their actions over the last 5 years, and you talk about some of the things they're doing in the front office and everything else, and the way they put the team together. And I've looked at how in the NFL, a lot of these teams are they're tripping over each other to become we're going to be the most forward-thinking team, and those are the teams generally that wind up getting caught up in it and lose. Is they get so tied, they get so wrapped up in we're going to be the Microsoft of football. I think the Red Sox are making a lot of those mistakes, and then they look at
trying to outsmart everybody.
Yeah, and then they look at the Devers.
We're doing something different. Yeah,
and then they look at the Devers contract, and it's Rafi Devers got us when we were in a bad spot after the Betts trade made us look horrible, and so we did bad business on the Devers trade. So you know what we got to do? We got to rid ourselves of the bad business, because even if he's a really good player, you might look at that contract as that contract was bad business. So instead of just worrying about putting the best product in the field, it's let's rid ourselves of the bad business.
Well, and you see that around baseball. Within baseball, they're all lauding the fact that they were able to get another team to take the entire contract.
Right.
That was a win in baseball front offices everywhere you look at.
Right.
I wish, Bert, that the Red Sox specifically would be honest about who they are and who they want to be now.
Yeah.
Because, when John Henry got here, it was almost like somebody jumping in, somebody who had listened to sports talk radio for 3 years before coming to a city. And then once you get into a city, you start using the language that everybody else uses. You're saying, we're going to beat the Yankees. We're going to break the curse. He did all that stuff. Yeah, we're going to remake Fenway Park. Can we get a new stadium? Oh, we can't get a new stadium. Okay, we will trick out Fenway Park. We'll do everything. We'll go out. We'll sign all the best players.
Yeah.
So he was that owner at one point, and then he got distracted. He diversified the portfolio, whatever you want to put it. And now what he wants to do is make money and not spend too much money. That's the bottom line. He doesn't want to spend like he used to. He doesn't want to do it. And
Think about what Craig Brislow did when he first got here. He hired an outside organization to streamline the front office. How many people lost their jobs? He's trying to do more with less. That's
well, streamline the front office, but then he added like this whole other layer of this whole army of analysts. And I'm not one of these people who is flat out against analytics. I'm not. I see the importance of the tool, but he has gone so far the other way that he's kind of drained out a lot of the institutional knowledge people for the new Microsoft, as Bert put it. And so they got the Devers. They did the Devers contract as a response to losing Xander Bogaerts, to trading Mookie Betts and getting nothing in return.
Devers was the only guy left.
So they
would
needed
have been a riot if they didn't keep him.
So that's what they did, but they didn't want to. They don't want to do deals like this.
I think a lot of that, and Bert can, in the football style of things, I think because they're controlled to somewhat because of the cap, but I think John Henry just can't make up his mind. Or just he keeps changing his mind because he wants to have no more long-term contracts. I'm not giving a pitcher this amount of money. That he doesn't do it to Lester, but he gives it to Price. Then I'm not going to extend. I'm not going to be the highest-paid guy here in Mookie Betts.
Mistakes.
When you're making that mistake, I made that mistake, so I'm going to give it to Devers.
You're giving him more credit for engagement than I am.
But I think a lot of that also.
I don't think he's as engaged.
You mentioned when he first got here, Mike. I think part of that
I think he was engaged.
He had Larry Lucchino engaging him too.
Yeah.
Lucchino was the one who guided him to renovate Fenway Park, brought in Janet Marie Smith. And Theo Epstein is probably the best general manager we'll ever see here and maybe in baseball history because he appreciated the scouts, but he also appreciated the analytics and would bring all those analysts in and put them all together and make the decision. I don't know if we have that anymore.
Which is what he was. I mean, Theo, and I don't know if there's somebody like this in football, Bert, who comes to mind. Theo, I was saying to Felger the other day, I remember that Theo had got the job at 28.
Yep.
So I remember like one of the first conversations I had with him on the field at Fenway. We're joking about, we're exchanging some Chris Rock jokes. Then we start laughing about this is Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
But then he could turn
Spinal Tap.
So then he could turn around and say, hey, okay, this is this guy's war, or this is a Vort, whatever. He could play both sides of it. He's a Yale guy, but he's also could be a profane guy. He can go back and forth. And I don't see Breslow played baseball. I cannot imagine.
Sometimes it's hard.
That he's got that kind of balance. Yes. Like is there anybody in football?
I mean, when you start,
who can do can naturally
who balances everything?
Yeah. John Lynch, maybe. Or
Lynch and Lynch has a lot of smart people around him that are like. There's this guy
Howie.
I was gonna say Howie
Roseman,
but Howie battled the social thing for Howie's issue for a while was like trying to prove he was a football guy because forever in football you get not like they're not football guys, and I'm sure you saw that when you were doing your books like that's. Go put him over in that department over there. That's not a football guy.
Put him in marketing. Put him in business. He's not a football guy.
So he battled that for a while. So I don't know if he'd be like a straight line example. Maybe now he is, but I think he had to fight through that a bunch. Eric DaCosta.
Oh yeah,
in Baltimore.
I think local guy.
He's from Taunton. Went to Colby. He's really, really smart.
Yeah,
he buys into the analytics. But
that's a good one.
Yeah, so I think it might be Eric DaCosta. And that organization is a great example of one that balances it. He gave me a great analogy for it. He said all analytics are for us is guardrails. And this is an organization that invests deeply. Like they don't subscribe to all the services. They do everything in-house. Like they created 10, 15 years ago what basically was a Shazam for football players, if that makes sense. Like they could plug a college player in and it would tell, like their system would tell you, okay, this is who he projects to be.
That's
awesome.
Like, so they're doing all kinds of stuff like that. But I remember talking to him about this is probably like 7 or 8 years ago when I was doing a big story in analytics, and he was like, there's nothing that's going to take away from me making the human decision. And this is when he was still working under Ozzie, and Ozzie was great with this stuff too. He's like, we invest so much in analytics. He's like, I want all the information. He's like, I want all of it. Like,
But it's
I need.
important.
Like, he's
it's important to figure out what its
and
place
the way
is.
Yeah,
and a lot of organizations don't. Hold on, Bert.
Yeah.
We'll continue this. Sorry, guys. I need to take a break here. Or 12.
Hey, listen, hey,
I think
12
it's
is
you got the rock. You got the rock, man.
All right.
You're the point guard.
We're gonna call the timeout then. That's what we're doing. We'll have more with Bert on the other side. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5.
Weekday morning.
Here goes Hardy.
Toucher and Hardy.
I no longer love things.
Let's go. Let's ride.
98.5.
Like, let's roll the dice.
You're not ruining this for me. You're not ruining this for me at all. Bert's here for the rest of the hour. We were talking about analytics and baseball, but I wanted to quickly talk to Bert about the sale of the Lakers. And this would seem strange considering Bert's a football guy, but it has a direct correlation to the NFL. The NFL is the best league for generating revenue of the major four. The LA Lakers just sold for $10 billion this week.
Right,
And-
which is like that was a percentage, so it wasn't $10 billion.
It's worth more, but that has a direct correlation on NFL franchises.
Right, because it's the valuation.
If,
Valuations,
this NBA team's
10.
worth $10 billion, how much are the Dallas Cowboys worth? How much are middle of the road NFL franchise? How much is that worth?
And I do think, like, to some degree, if you're one of these owners, does it make you think a little bit? Do I need to sell a piece of my team? And there's all kinds of impacts it's going to have across sports, right? So I think, to me, like the biggest one in the NFL, because all of the NFL teams, if you rank the top 50 most valuable North American sports franchises, all 32 NFL teams are in that list. The question for NFL teams now becomes how many people can actually afford to buy one. And so
are we
we
at that point?
And I think that number, so the number of people who can actually afford to buy a team outright is shrinking to the point, like the Waltons were the last one to buy a team, and that was the Broncos, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, no, wasn't it Harris? Wasn't Harris after the Broncos?
Harris was after the Broncos, right?
The Commanders.
Harris was more recent, right?
And
Harris is way up there, but the Waltons are like. I remember when I looked this up, I was like, the guy who bought the Walton, the Walton who actually is the owner, which I think is Rob Walton. Greg Penner's the son-in-law runs it, but Rob Walton bought the Broncos, and I think he's the 13th wealthiest person in the world. His brother was 14th.
Wow.
My God.
Like it was one of those where it's like, and I think that they were it was 70 billion or whatever a piece. And so like that's the type of people we're talking about, and the number of people who can afford it. So that number shrinks, and not everybody who is on that list is going to be interested in buying a team.
Right.
So you have to start to think outside the box with these things. So I think that's the number one. That's the first thing is NFL ownership rules. You have to the majority owner, and you have to declare a principal owner. You saw it with the Colts a couple weeks ago, where they had to declare one of the daughters. Now it wound up being Carly, but they had to declare one of the daughters as the principal owner. The principal owner has to own at least 30% of the team. So now, does that math have to change? I don't think those rules exist. They're not as strict in other sports where you can have consortiums, in football, because, and this is for a number, but they want someone to be accountable. Like that's, and I actually like that part of the rule, that there is not just this like conglomerate.
Yeah.
Like that, like, so there's no one to point
like
the
a
finger
face
at.
of ownership.
They want
right?
someone to be responsible and accountable for the team. Does that have to change now? Like, that's a fair question. Do some families who own these teams look at it and say, this is the time to cash out? One thing you've noted, one thing you've seen, they allow private equity now in the NFL, and I think the NFL was the last of the pro sports leagues in North America to allow private equity. This part of it's super interesting too, because now you're seeing teams sell off 5%, 10%, and it's not just a private equity. The Eagles sold off, I think, 2 5% chunks to like families in the Philadelphia area. The Raiders, one of the reasons, like, we all made a big deal out of Brady becoming the partial owner, right? And that looked like it was just a ceremonial thing. It actually was pretty smart, because what Brady was able to do then was attract more big money in. And so he came in with Tom Wagner, who's his business partner, right? And they
How much did he buy?
They bought 10% of the Raiders.
Smart. Probably one of the smartest moves of Brady's career.
Right.
Getting in with the Raiders.
So then they do that.
And Richard Seymour too.
Yeah,
right?
Richard Seymour
owns 0.1%.
Right.
Hey, I'll take it.
I think that's $5 million.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
It's like
a lot of
$5
money.
million bucks. Right.
And so then, but what people didn't pay attention to is then 2 more slices of the Raiders got sold off. Egan Durbin, who's the CEO, of Silver Lake, which is, big private equity firm in California. He bought a chunk. And then this guy, Michael Meldman, now you guys know Brady is at the, you guys know about the Yellowstone Club, like where it's the highest of high-end clubs. It's where he goes skiing in Montana.
Interesting.
It's in Big Sky, Montana, right? Well, Michael Meldman is the founder of Discovery Land, which owns the Yellowstone Club. So he brought Michael Meldman in. So now Brady, it's fascinating what Brady did with the Raiders, so when Ben Johnson had a list of teams that he was going to consider in January, right? And they, to the teams that they weren't going to consider, they did in the courtesy of like, look, just don't put a request in. We don't want to embarrass you and make you look bad by turning the request down. And so the Raiders were one on the list of no's for Ben Johnson.
Okay.
So the Raiders put a request in anyway. The agent was pissed. The agent was like, what? Like, guys, we told you. Like, hold on. They put Brady on the phone with them.
Your dad now has
Brady gets on the phone.
equity.
Brady gets on the phone with them, talks to them for an hour and a half. Basically said it is a new day with the Raiders. Right? We're not cheap. We're not cash poor anymore. We're not going to be cheap. We're going to invest into the organization. You have my word. Ben Johnson winds up interviewing. He doesn't land there, but he winds up going through the interview because Brady was there. You know what ended up happening? So they end up hiring Pete Carroll. Guess how much they paid their offensive coordinator to leave Ohio State? They paid Chip Kelly $6 million a year. Do you think they're doing that if Mark Davis is on his own?
He's got to be the highest paid OC in football,
coordinator
right?
in football, yeah.
$6 million.
$6 million a year.
He's paid more than any head
so
coaches.
That's what's But that's what's happening. It's like all this money is coming now. They're selling off chunks. Here's the other piece of it. And I'm probably boring people with my business lesson here.
He just asked you about how much franchises were worth.
This is interesting.
I like this about Brady. This is fascinating.
Yeah, no. None of us knew this about Brady.
So Brady's having a massive impact out there. The other part of it is the reality of the estate taxes. And the estate taxes, and I'm sure this was part of the Celtics sale too, right? Is the estate taxes, when the valuation goes up like that, the estate taxes can become crippling. So in a lot of these cases, the families are preparing for their sons and daughters to get the team without having to pay a crippling estate tax. And if you sell off pieces of the team, the bill on the estate tax goes down. So there's all kinds of things that can affect this. And I would say, like with the Cowboys, I mean,
$22 billion. What are we talking about?
No, seriously, right? How much is that worth?
$20 billion?
If the Lakers are worth 10.
And the Lakers don't own crypto.com.
They don't own the arena.
They don't own the arena. The Celtics don't own the arena. So
$10
billion, $6 billion.
So would you say the Cowboys are the number one?
So the Cowboys,
are the number one.
Oh yeah,
gotta be.
Easily.
I mean,
what would they sell for today?
I would say it's probably them and like 3 or 4 soccer clubs, like Real Madrid, whoever it is.
Manchester United.
I don't know enough to know which, but I think Real Madrid's the most valuable of those, right? Whoever it is.
Whatever. But the point is, if the Lakers are worth 10, you have to figure Dallas is 15 to 20, right?
Yeah.
Jones will never sell it. Jones will never
He'll never sell it, but out of his cold, dead hands, the team will leave.
Right out of it. It's very true. 617.
I'm convinced Jerry's gonna live forever.
He'll invent a way. He'll pay someone to find a way. 617-779-0985. We have Bert for one more segment, and then Adam 12 has a game for us at 8:00. You want to stick around for that? Okay.
Singing, too.
Both of them will be back on Monday. I'm John Wallach. He's
You better
Dan Roach.
hurry
Michael
up.
Holly is here. Bert Breer is here for the song and dance routine that is currently happening to my left. We have Bert for one more segment. And I have to ask you about Shedeur Sanders before you go. And he's obviously been
Shut
a
up and
lightning
drive.
rod. He has been pulled over twice for speeding in the last month and didn't show up to his arraignment for one of the tickets. He's a fifth-round pick, and he's smiling through all of it. And it was odd because the last time I saw him meet the media, he was like, it's a good thing I'm not playing. I have a chance now to learn everything, and when the time comes, I'll be ready to play. And that's the kind of humble answer you expect from a fifth-round draft pick. But now you have this. It just seems like any fifth-round draft pick, regardless of what his name is, gets pulled over twice for speeding and puts the organization in a negative light. It's kind of a real tough time making the team.
You don't have as much rope when you're a fifth-round pick as
So
if you're
what
a
is
first
he
or second-round
doing?
pick.
What is going on?
It's strange, like, because you hear some conflicting things, and I think one of the overarching things that goes back to January that I've heard on him is like people were surprised by how little he knew football wise, and then when he got in those meeting rooms, it was based on who his father was, based on the fact that his offensive coordinator at Colorado was Pat Shurmur, who obviously coached for a zillion years in the NFL. Everyone figured he'd know a little bit more, and that's part of why he took less team reps, like both in front of the media and away from the media. And less 11 on 11 reps than the Dylan Gabriel, than Kenny Pickett. I mean, Joe Flacco, they sort of gave a first-round bye into the quarterback competition in the summer, so he did a little bit less in the spring just so that he get a better evaluation of the other three. But he has worked, and he has made progress, and he has put his head down. So I think there's this juxtaposition. What the Browns are seeing in the building is a guy who is doing a lot of the right things and who is being humble and who is going through it the same way a fifth-round pick would go through it. And then, you have this stuff away from the facility, which sometimes he still carries himself like a big star, which I think has caught some eye rolls. And then you have this, which it's just, I think it all kind of gets thrown in the pot when you're making a decision at the end of August. And again, fifth-round picks aren't guaranteed roster spots. I mean, this is where where you're drafted doesn't leave you. Like, as much as everybody wants to say, okay, well, when after the draft, everybody's the same. No, they aren't. Like, a first-round pick isn't getting cut. A second-round pick isn't getting cut. A third-round pick probably makes the team in almost certainly makes the team in year one, probably makes the team in year two. So, like, you have different degrees of tolerance for these things based on the level of investment a team's made in you.
What? Oh,
90, no, I was just going to say 91 and a 65, and it's like, and the
I mean,
so
that's
two
not.
of them. Yeah,
91 and 65 is. You if you're on a long road trip, you let it get away from you a little bit.
But then the other one was like 100.
Yeah. If I look down and I see 91, I'm like, okay, I better hit the brakes.
so down.
If I see three digits, like I'm like, what the hell did I do?
And of course, I look at the numbers and I say, all right, I'm not really sure why he's doing that there. And then I look at the car. When it was like a truck, so it's not. I'm thinking it's like one.
So
of
you
got
to work a little harder to get.
I'm thinking
it's
it's
up
like
there,
it's like one of these nice, 2-seaters.
Yeah,
it's just doing it in a big SUV. That takes the fun out of it.
I mean, I think we're all making a big deal out of this for obvious reasons because of who he is and because of how he carried himself when he was in college and all of that. Like I don't know how big a factor he's going to be as far as their quarterback situation when we get to them making a decision.
I still don't get why they drafted him.
Middle of August.
Well,
I mean, there's a lot of different theories on that.
Well, Jimmy has them.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why they drafted him.
I would say this. Like, I think like Dylan Gabriel is interesting because I heard he crushed the pre-draft process, which makes sense because he was I believe a multi-year starter at 3 different schools.
Yes,
like he was.
That's right. He's a super senior.
Yeah, so
it's the new trend.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't a multi-year starter at Oregon, but was a multi-year starter at Central Florida and then a multi-year starter at Oklahoma. Plus spent 6 years in college. I think he broke Bo Nix's record for amount of college starts.
Right.
So you'd expect a guy like that to do really well in the pre-draft process, which he did. He did awesome in the pre-draft process. And like you look at him as the kind of guy who he is, I think, at a baseline, probably going to last a long time in the league. Now, he may never become a starter anywhere, but I think the baseline for him is he could have like a Chase Daniel type career, which is great. You know what I mean? Like could wind up, because I think he knows so much football. He's played a lot of football. You probably feel comfortable putting him in there after he gets some experience under his belt for 3 or 4 games. If your starter gets hurt, you might not want him to be your long-term starter. So now you have him on the roster, and as a third-round pick, he's probably making the team. Like, how does Shedeur fit into that? And I think a big part of the equation for the Browns is going to wind up being, do either Dylan, or not even can they start, are either Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders good enough right now to be the backup? Because if that's the case, then you can get rid of one of the vets.
Kenny Pickett.
But if that's
get rid of Kenny Pickett,
because they love
problem.
Flacco,
right?
Yeah.
Because if that's not the case, and you feel like, God, these guys aren't ready, well, then do you keep 4 quarterbacks? Do you have to get rid of one of the rookies? That's where things get a little tenuous.
When Mike Flynn used to be a regular contributor on this radio station, he said something to me that rings true when discussing a guy like Shedeur Sanders. All head coaches in the NFL want to know is, what are they going to get out of the player if they send him out there? They want to make sure. They want the confidence. If I put Dylan Gabriel out there, I know what I'm going to get. You know what you're going to get when you put Joe Flacco out there. Based on what you're telling me about Shedeur Sanders' inability to pick up the program, at least at the start, they have no idea what to expect out of him.
Yeah,
at least
and
at
I mean,
this
he's
point.
gotten better.
So why would you invest a roster spot in that guy?
He's gotten better over the course of the 6 weeks he was there, but that is a fair question, and I do think a big part of it is, and I think a lot of the questions that were asked about him by teams, not by all of us, by teams, are coming to life now. Like, part of it is, like, you've never been coached by anybody but your dad. Like, what's this going to look like when you get outside of that and you have to learn a new program? And I think to some degree, early on, at least in Cleveland, he showed the result of that, like that he didn't know as much as people had expected him to. I think he's fascinating. You know, when we were all talking about him like he was going to be a first rounder, I remember somebody comparing him. I had a really smart football person compare him to Jackson Dart, and this person thought Dart was worlds better. And he said, if you watch them when they get in trouble, Dart goes forward and Sanders goes backwards. And what he meant by that is, like, when you watch Dart play, he still had a lot of work. Dart was raw too. But when you watch him play, he gets in trouble in the pocket. He works his way up. He climbs the pocket. He's playing the NFL way. Shedeur Sanders, you see him sneak out the back door.
His offensive line was so bad.
And,
so
and he
long.
sneak out the back door even when he wasn't in trouble.
Right.
He would always just kind of go to that left side.
And then the question,
PTSD.
And then the question becomes, is he can do that at Big 12? Is he a good enough athlete to get away from those guys in the pros?
Okay.
And the answer is no. So I think that's sort of how the Browns look at it. Like, they're like, Dylan Gabriel actually moves around better than Shedeur Sanders. And people don't want to hear that because it's Deion's kid, but it's true.
Yeah, and it's weird. Dylan Gabriel, you talk about the new trend of playing a lot of college football. Dylan Gabriel almost played twice as many. This is crazy. Twice as many college games as Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes played 32 college games.
Yeah.
And I think Dylan Gabriel was at 61.
I think he's 63.
It's 60, okay, so almost twice as many college games. This guy's like, you got to go. You got to leave.
But
please.
it goes back to what I'm telling you.
It's time to leave.
Oklahoma basically kicked him out.
Yeah.
Oklahoma had like a kid who they had recruited who they needed to get in the field or he was going to transfer. And Oklahoma said, like, there was like.
So that's. Yeah, and I would say, like, for Gabriel and for Jaden Daniels, that's why when people say, hey, is Jaden Daniels going to make that huge leap in year 2? I'm like, no. I don't think he's fine. I'm not saying he's bad.
Really good, but
he played so much college football.
Right.
A lot of the guys who make that leap, it's based on these are experienced guys coming into football.
But it goes back to what I was saying. A head coach puts Dylan Gabriel out there. He knows what he's going to get out of Dylan Gabriel.
Right.
Bert,
I could put one bow on the Ravens thing that I did want to finish up with you guys.
I love
give you
it.
guys something to chew on here for the analytics thing.
Yeah.
Because I think that this does stretch across sports and probably I think applies to the Red Sox too. Because I was going to say it before we went to that break. The Eric DaCosta thing that I thought was really interesting was he said, I don't use, like, for us, the highway, we're not riding on this highway of analytics. Analytics are our guardrails. And so I want more information. It's like I want all the information. It doesn't mean I'm going to use it, but if I'm making an exception, if I'm coloring outside the lines, I want to know. Now, I might still color outside the lines, right? Like I might look at this player here and say, this guy is so good, but why wouldn't I want to know that I'm going outside the lines? And I think the Ravens are a good example of the proper way to do it. The Niners do it that way too, where it's like it doesn't govern decisions, but you do want to have the information where when we're going outside the line.
So when they interview people for jobs, they don't use AI for
I don't think so.
3, 4, 5 interviews.
We're going to get to that with Dan at 8:20. I know he can't wait about that. Bert, our time is at an end. It's good to see you.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, that's Bert Breer. Adam 12 has a game for us next. 2 hours down, 2 hours to go. Friday edition of Toucher and Hardy here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Joe Murray. For Boston sports fans, it's 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Red Sox had last night off, but they'll get back to work tonight, and this game should be interesting. They open up a 3-game series in San Francisco at Oracle Park against Rafael Devers and the Giants. This is 5 days after the trade that shocked all of Major League Baseball. Devers went 1 for 3 as the DH for the Giants yesterday in a 2-1 home win over Cleveland. He's 3 for 11 in 3 games for his new team so far. Also yesterday, the Red Sox finally demoted the struggling Christian Campbell. He was hitting 158 since May 1st. Wilyer Abreu is expected to be activated off the injured list to take his place on the roster. The Indiana Pacers beat Oklahoma City last night 108-91 in a game that wasn't even that close. As a result, we'll have a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. It'll be Sunday night in OKC. ESPN reported yesterday the Celtics' asking price for either Jaylen Brown or Derek White in a trade would be insurmountable, and the Knicks reportedly met with former Sacramento head coach Mike Brown this week as they continued their search for a head coach. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Albrecht Auto Group, Zoe's Auto Dealer. Get respected Albrecht. Now 8 locations, including the all-new Subaru of Wakefield. Thousands of new and pre-owned vehicles, all at the right price at albrechtauto.com. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
To us, Boston pride runs deep.
I'm a Bostonian!
This is Boston's Home for Sports.
Bow, bow, bow!
98.5 The Sports Hub.
You said you wanted to hear more music in the morning.
Never had to knock on wood, but I never had it yet.
No, you said you didn't want to hear more music in the morning. Okay. Here's more Toucher and Hardy.
Program. You can also check us out on YouTube and see the three of us just talk for the next couple hours. See those cameras over there? They're all watching us.
Oh.
They're all watching us. The people on YouTube, log in, YouTube, Toucher and Hardy Show, and check out the chat on the right-hand side of the screen. It's always friendly. People are always good to each other.
That's all right.
Great.
That's all right. This is what you sign up for.
I know.
This is what you sign up for in this business. If it were all nice and we're all tame, you'd be like, what's wrong? What's wrong with people?
It's full combat in there. It's full combat in the dungeon. So I know Adam 12 has a game for us. I do not know the subject matter, but Adam 12, it's your time to shine.
Well, we like to keep it timely and topical on the show, John, as we do. And, of course, the big topic this week was the Rafael Devers trade. You guys talked a bit about it with Bert Breer. We're going to cover it more in the next segment. And we decided to use this as inspiration. We were talking about this in the control room yesterday. Nicholas found some great links to kind of flesh this out. We want to talk about other awful trades that Boston sports teams have made over the years.
There have been many.
In fact, yes. I believe the Felger and Maz show got into this week with Maz's tears. I think the way they referred to it was ponies for a horse, or a horse for ponies, or something like that.
Sure.
So I'm going to give each of you, and I'll go person by person and give you a chance, each of you a chance to win a point, if you will.
Okay.
And then, of course, if you can't, you can someone else on the in the room can try to steal it. But I'll start with you, Michael Hawley.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the 2 bum names, and you've got to figure out the good guy that got shipped out of town.
Okay.
All right.
Those people might be listening.
These garbage
that's
players.
all right. Bums. They're
right.
bums. They
All right.
deserve
That's right.
the scrutiny.
So, in fact, okay, I won't give you a hint. I'll see if you can get it first of all. Wayne Primo, Brad Stewart.
Okay.
You got this one?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, this is Joe Thornton.
That's correct. We
left
were talking
Marco
about
Sturm
this
out of it.
morning. Yeah, I did, because I would have given it away too much. Yeah.
I mean, I brought it up this morning, John. I'm still aghast that the Bruins not only. So I'm going to get to the good part, the good bad part of the trade first. Mike O'Connell, general manager, decides, I'm going to trade Joe Thornton. Doesn't shop him around the league. So Joe Thornton, best player on the Boston Bruins, #1 overall pick. I'm just going to trade him during the season, and I'm not going to shop him. So they don't expose him to the rest of the league. And this is a Bruins thing, because they did the same thing years later with a different player. But we'll get to that later, I'm sure. I'm sure it may be on the list.
Yeah, maybe it is.
And it's the first and only time in professional sports history where you trade a player in season and that player goes on to win the MVP for the other team. In season, not an off-season trade.
I was just going to say Betts is close to that.
No, but this is in season.
No,
the guy started the season
Hall of
with
Famer. Traded a Hall of Famer.
He starts the season with you.
Yeah.
You trade him, and he's the MVP of the league in the same year. What a brutal, awful
The best
trade.
part about that is, and I think we might not have been working together at the time. It was Mike O'Connell on the other radio station, and Mike O'Connell said on air, if this trade doesn't work out, I would expect to lose my job.
Well,
Guess what?
good call.
Good call. He was gone shortly after that.
And I remember going at him because we did interview
It
him.
was that time.
I
Okay.
remember going at him and said, how could you do this? He goes, hey, Michael, let me ask you. Have you seen the other guys play? The other guys are pretty good. Have you seen Brad Stewart play? Have you seen Marco Stern? Like, no, I haven't. No, I haven't seen him play, and I'm okay with myself.
Don't you wish? I wish we could go back in time and fix things, as to say what the reasoning. Why did you think this? Why did you do that? Because Billy Guerin wanted to stay here. He wanted to be captain of this team.
Yep.
And Joe Thornton did not want to be captain of the team at his age and everything
That's
else.
right. Yeah.
He could have solved all these problems by doing simple things.
Exactly. A little
and they
tweak.
don't do it. Happens all the time.
You said you want to go back in time, Dan.
Oh, here it is.
You
Oh,
wanna
nice
go back in
transition.
time? All right. I'll give you a couple of names from back in the day. See if you can swing this trade.
All right.
Guy Allen
Tell me,
and
Adam,
Paul
where are you
Reed.
going this time?
We're
Guy
going
Allen-
Guy Allen and Paul Reed.
Oh, my God.
Paul Reed.
Oh, Lord.
Wow.
How far back are we going?
About 50 years, a little bit more.
Oh, man.
Can you get this one?
Oh, man. I'll tell you. Yeah, you go. I'm so
I'll give you
glad.
another hint. It's the same team we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it, nope.
Oh.
Is it Bobby Orr?
I have
No,
a guess.
no.
I have a guess.
What's your guess?
Is it Phil Esposito?
Yes.
That is not correct.
Oh, that was my guess, too. That was going to be my guess.
It is that is who the Bruins received from the Montreal Canadiens for Ken Dryden in 1966.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Back in the day.
Never.
I know the Whalers
Well,
weren't
this
involved,
is
but
the
I just
Whalers.
wanted to
What-
play that. I just
Yeah,
wanted
that's
to
all
play
right.
the,
Hey, put the
brass
beat together.
band.
Paul
Just
Reed.
finish
I remember the name
All
Paul
right.
Reed.
Yeah.
I was like, Paul
Wow.
Reed, the big man who used to play for the Sixers.
I know, right?
Center.
I
Yeah.
was thinking.
That's right. He was pretty good off the bench for them.
And I mean, maybe I was a little bit negative in setting this up. I mean, not all of these guys are bums. I mean, remember, these deals were swung. In some cases, they were swung because a team needed to get something of value at the time to accomplish a goal.
Guy Allen and Paul Reed fit into that
I
category.
know.
No,
Never.
they certainly don't. But the next name might.
Okay,
If
here we
you can take it back to
Okay.
this one.
You got this one, John.
This one's
for
for
me.
you.
You got it.
John Wallach.
Okay.
I'm going to give you, and I want you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine this baseball player's card, Larry Anderson.
Oh, you know this.
Oh, that's
Oh,
easy.
this is
That's
Jeff
easy.
Bagwell.
Larry
So,
Anderson.
Jeff
Jeff
Bagwell.
You give me Paul Reed.
Oh,
and
I know.
Guy Allen.
You got the hardest. You got the hardest one by far.
Well, listen, come with better musical recommendations, Dan, and maybe I'll take it easier
That's the
with
tax.
the games.
You got the tax for that.
So, yes, that was the Jeff Bagwell deal.
We
in
got easy
1990.
ones.
Yeah.
You got just an
You
impossible
got Paul
one.
Reed and Guy
Paul Reed
Guy
and Guy
Allen.
Allen.
Guy
I never.
Allen.
You could have given me
Got
like
it.
25
100 years I wouldn't have gotten that.
So yeah, we're talking about Boston
Lou Gorman.
sports teams that have lost trades in a big way.
Yeah.
I'll give you another one, Michael. Oh, this is again, I won't hint it, but you'll. I'm guessing that you'll get it. I'm going to give you one name, and if you can't get it off the one, I'll give you a couple
Okay.
more that were involved in this trade. Kenny Anderson.
Oh yeah, we just talked about him. Chauncey Billups.
That's correct.
Chauncey
Billups deal.
So I love Kenny Anderson is one of my favorite guys to deal with. He would just say anything. He had no filter.
I just love guys like that.
He was very funny too. He was a low key funny guy.
What is he best known for during his time here, though?
Man, I'm just looking for my car.
That's right. On my way.
I'm just looking for
That's
my
a
I'm
lockout.
trying to stop him to get an autograph.
Hey, mister,
Yo,
you
I'm
sign
just
this?
trying to get my car.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find my keys. Where are my keys at?
Yeah, and I loved his. He got confused with and I understand it. He got confused with the tenses because I think Chauncey Billups wound up in Toronto. It was like a 3-team trade. So Kenny Anderson was in Toronto for a minute. The Celtics trade rookie Chauncey Billups because Patino had no patience.
Oh, God. During Billups' rookie
50
year.
games into his rookie
50
year.
games in.
He's traded.
Billups, by the way, the 3rd overall pick in the draft.
And so
Yeah.
Kenny got here in the first interview, say, how was it being in Toronto? He goes, I was never a rapture. I was never a rapture. I was never there.
Yeah.
So that was Anderson, Popeye Jones, and then they traded Billups, but it was also D. Brown was in that trade too, I believe. Correct?
I don't remember that.
Wow.
Because
was D. Brown involved?
Yeah.
D. Brown, but
D. Brown hated Patino.
Yes, he did. I was pretty young. This was back in 1998. I remember loving D. Brown on those bad Celtics teams in the 90s. I feel like I might have, as a fan, valued him a little bit more than I should have.
No, but he was fun. He was
fun to watch. He was fun to watch. Yeah,
he
the slam
pumped
dunk
up the
contest,
Reeboks.
yeah.
If they had a better team, he would be he'd be perfect. He'd be a perfect pacer. One of his team.
This is what he does,
not a
right?
great player, but a really good, solid player who knows how to play the game.
He was a go-to guy.
All right, Dan. Let's get you a point on the board at least. You'll
Come on, Dan.
When I say this name, you're going to be able to. You're going to be able to. So this is one where the team had a short-term need and unfortunately ended up dealing away a big chunk of what could have been their future when this team traded for Mike Boddicker.
Oh, yeah, I got this.
Yes, no, it was.
I got it.
It was the Orioles.
That's right.
And it was Brady Anderson?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's one other prospect that was involved in that deal as well that went to Baltimore.
I'm ready to steal.
Go ahead.
Steal it.
Go ahead. You got
Kurt
it.
Schilling.
That's correct. Kurt Schilling and Brady Anderson to the Orioles in 1998 as prospects for pitcher Mike Boddicker.
But Boddicker had a great curveball.
He did, and he helped. I mean, he helped. Was it in 88 and 90 that
he was the number 2 starter behind Clemens.
Yeah,
I remember
pretty good.
And they were able to get into
that
the
is
postseason
tough.
on his arm. But think about that.
That hurts.
That is the definition of short-term gain for a long-term loss. Wow. All right, John, I'll give you. Maybe I'll give you one more. Maybe I'll have
John's
a couple
got
bonus
it.
ones to throw in too.
John has got it. I can tell you.
John's on today.
He's locked in.
Locked in
on
this
this one.
This is a tough one. This is another
right.
back in the day one, John.
Oh boy.
Oh, here we go.
These are some names you haven't thought of in a long time. These are some names that you got to be a real fan to know.
You can't give me 1950.
Key Allen.
Oh, but I
Key
can.
Allen and
Right.
Ed
You gotta give me a
McCauley
chance.
and Cliff Hagan.
Jesus.
Ed McCauley and
got
Cliff Hagan.
You got it.
Easy Ed.
Oh, is that the deal that got them Bill Russell?
That is absolutely right. Well done, John Waller. Well done.
For the guy wearing it's blaring the Celtics green.
With that on today, come on.
Yeah, you got it.
Had to get it. Had to get it.
He's got the hat combo, too.
1956. And there was something, too, about that, because Russell was the number 2 pick, right?
Right.
So Red had to do some behind-the-scenes conniving to make sure that he was going to be there for the second pick as well. I don't know.
Well, the legend is that he, the ice capades.
Nah, that's
something.
what it was. Yeah.
That was the whole.
yeah.
But I don't think that was true.
No.
Because I know this is hard to believe in 1956. Some teams said, "I'm not going to have a black player on my team." So you don't even have to make a trade.
Yeah.
We're not drafting him.
Yeah.
So all there.
Olympic
He's all
champion. We don't need that.
That's all right.
Leave that guy alone.
All right, you guys want a few layups to
layups,
round out?
layups.
All right,
Let's give
Danny needs a layup.
Go.
All right. I'll give you Michael. I'll give you Ryan Gomes, Theo Ratliff, and Gerald Green.
Oh, nice.
Gomes,
Kevin
Ratliff, Green.
Garnett.
That is absolutely right. Yes, that was the Garnett deal in 2007. Danny, Delonte West, Wally Zerbiak, and Jeff Green.
I can steal this
Oh,
one.
you got that one.
I got this one.
You got it.
Steal it? Go ahead, John.
Ray Allen.
That's right. Within months of each other. Allen was first, and then Garnett, right? It was
Right.
both spring of 2007.
Yeah.
I feel like it was April or May, and then June or something like
about
that.
that?
Just went down.
Just how quickly they put that together.
And how you fall in love with players, because the centerpiece of the Timberwolves deal was Al Jefferson.
Yeah.
Right.
Doc,
Can't give
Doc,
him-
Doc goes on and on about he played golf with Danny Ainge and Kevin McHale, and McHale during the entire round, all he would talk about was Al Jefferson, best young big man in the league, and Doc came off the golf course and said, "That's when I knew we had Garnett."
We got to get Kevin Garnett.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, you want one more?
Go ahead.
All right, let's see if we go. Let's stay in 2007. Okay. This team traded a 4th round draft pick in 2007 to end up with a player that helped them win a
That is such a.
championship.
It's right. He just made your breakfast for you. He brought it. This is breakfast in bed. This is so. This team, 2007, fourth round pick for a great player. Go ahead, you got it. A team that you cover a lot.
Is that Moss?
That's
Yes.
correct. Absolutely, it is Randy Moss. Well done. See, we ended strong.
See,
There you go.
We finished strong.
He felt sorry for you
Danny
after
Roche.
just
Still
that
angry about Paul
impossible.
Reed.
I mean, that was crazy.
That
And
was-
Guy Allen.
Yeah.
Guy Allen.
Is it Guy Allen or Guy? We don't.
It's talking,
Hey,
so it's
either
Guy,
way, I'm
obviously.
not getting the answer.
Any guy named Guy in the NHL is Guy.
Got to be Guy.
Right,
man.
right.
All right, so now Dan, who didn't enjoy that game at all, now we're going to talk Red Sox.
He goes, "Go
And
ahead."
Devers trade. I know.
You want another one, Dan? Yeah. Sure. Hit me.
Whatever. Ask. So now we're going to
Now
make Dan's life worse.
I'm going to talk to Rick Pitino over here about patience with young prospects.
We're
right?
gonna gang up on Dan. We're gonna talk more Red Sox coming up next. It's a Friday program. Toucher and Hardy, Michael Holly, Dan Roach is here. My name is John Wallach. Back in a second.
And I have had many offers to become an insider.
The 500 square foot condo she was living in, and she goes, "Oh, let's go meet my next door neighbor." She bangs on the door. It's Apollonia. Apollonia is like living next to Carmen Electra, the two poor actresses down on their luck, and for some reason MTV is filming all of this. It was very sad.
But where do you go when you're not Apollonia anymore?
I don't know.
Where do you go once Prince says, "All right,
you're done.
I'm moving on"? It's tough.
I know. There are some that have made it, however. I remember what was Under the Cherry Moon. He did a movie called Under the Cherry Moon. Kristen Scott Thomas was the female role lead in that, and she made a movie career out of it after she was done, right?
Don't remember.
Okay, I guess not then. I think Kristen Scott Thomas had
You said right. I'm like,
right?
Yeah.
Right?
That was more Guy Allen for me. I was like, huh?
Okay,
What?
fair enough. We'll have to IMDb it during the break. So we have avoided it all morning. I know, Dan, you are more than happy to avoid it all morning, but we got to talk about this. The Red Sox play the San Francisco Giants tonight. It is the first time that these two teams will meet since the Rafael Devers trade earlier this week. Great timing for the Red Sox to send him to a team they're going to play immediately. How does Devers do? How do the Red Sox pitch to him? What is the atmosphere going to be like at Oracle Park tonight? Because for me, this is must-watch television.
Awkward, right? Isn't that what I think Alex said that a couple days ago? That it'll be kind of awkward to see him that quickly. You just had him. You just traded him Sunday. And then he's gone, and now you're back here, and you're facing him, and here we go again, right? So it's just it's been a bizarre week for the Red Sox. But again, I've gone back and forth and in my mind about what this trade means and how it went down and everything else. I have a lot of emotions about it. I think it goes back, as we said, time and time again to the offseason, when if you had a Theo Epstein who had a great relationship with players, could pick up the phone and call him or go to see him in person and say, "Listen, Rafi, we need a right-handed bat. It's pretty simple. You can see that in our lineup. We may get a third baseman because that's what's available in the market, either Arenado or Bregman. And we're going to have you put on a glove and maybe go to first base, maybe become our DH." And I think you solve a lot of problems right there instead of reacting to Bregman being signed and, "Oh, by the way, Rafi, can we make you the full-time DH?" So that was the beginning of it. And then, part of it is also I get upset with Devers and some of the stuff I've heard from some of the people that I know, just saying that he was defiant almost to the point where he was so angry at Breslow and what have you, they just wouldn't do anything, right? And that was what the Red Sox were worrying about, that it was just getting worse and worse and worse, especially as you bring up these kids and the new face of the franchise and Anthony and Meyer, and they see that. This Christian Campbell, the stories we've seen about him saying, "I'll play first base," and then Devers, saying, "No, wait, what are you doing here?" I just think that it got out of hand and out of control, and I think if you're going to have a team, the way a team should be run from top to bottom, then you just can't have guys like that. Now, should it have been resolved? Yes. But with what happened here, I can understand how it got so bad, and they just basically got rid of him.
The problem that a lot of people have, and if you're going to trade Devers, fine. We've gone over and over this on this show. If you're going to trade him, fine. But it is just horrible business not to do the best you can to maximize your asset. And the Red Sox, looking at it on the surface, didn't come close to doing that. Why couldn't they have gotten along for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, played teams off each other, and gotten a much better return?
I think we go back with remember we said with those trades that have happened in the past, you wish you could zoom in, zip down and say, "Hold on a second.
Pause."
Yes, let's hit the pause button.
Exactly.
Let's shop him around if you're not going to be here. And again, sit him down. The thing, I don't care what business you're in. If the owner of a company comes to you and says, "Can you please do this?" and you basically say no, then what do you do?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I wouldn't be
tough.
surprised if one day, it was almost like a movie, John Henry, tried to talk to Devers and walked by, Breslow and said, "Get rid of him."
One day in
Just
Kansas
boom.
City. One day in Kansas City,
exactly.
when he said, "Okay, this is what it's going to." I think they probably
get rid of him.
The contents of that, the gist of that conversation was, "Oh, if this is how you feel, this is how you're going to do it, then you're not going to be a Boston Red Sox anymore." And John Henry thinks about the contract part of it and says, "Okay, it's even better for me. I don't have to do this." But you talk about the deal, like deal making. John, you're right. That's the whole flaw of the thing, of the whole transaction. Look, if you're going to trade Rafael Devers, that's what you decide is best for your business, go ahead, do it. But you got played. I think you got played a little bit by San Francisco. When you see the San Francisco side of it, where they said they called up, they went over Breslow's head, first of all. Nice deal making here. They go over Breslow's head. They go to John Henry, say, hey, John, your guys are being unreasonable here. We want to make a deal. And this deal, you got act now. It's like act now. This deal is not going to last long.
Price is going to go up.
And you know when you make deals, you got to have a vision. You got to have a vision of what you want and a sense of how desperate the other side is. So, yes, you're desperate to get rid of Devers. But they're so desperate. You got to look at it this way. They're so desperate, they're willing to call your owner. They want to make this trade too. You got a personality problem with Devers. They have a personnel problem. They don't have anybody in the middle of their lineup, and they want to compete with the Dodgers. So you're desperate. They're desperate too. And if you just hold off, as you say, Dan, just pause it, slow it down a little bit, and don't get on their timeline. Hey, this thing's not going to be here. We're not going to be here at the trade deadline. Okay. Somebody else will.
Somebody will.
Okay.
But my question back to that.
I need more from you.
Who do you think look at the teams in baseball. How many teams do you think would have taken the entire contract on?
6. Let's say, but it's not many. But the San Francisco Giants aren't the only team that would. And it's not a bad contract. That's the other part of it.
No, it's
going to look
contract.
better and better and better.
It looks
as time
pretty
goes
good
on.
right now.
Yeah.
You got an elite bat for
under $30 million
less than $30
a year.
million. Yeah.
That is
it's a good
$30
contract.
million bucks is the going rate for a bat like that. The best left-handed hitter in the American League. I mean, we had Jim Bowden on the show on Wednesday, and he was just blown away by what the Red Sox didn't get. He said, I would have started with their best prospect, a left-handed hitting first baseman. I would have gone to Birdsong, a kid who's going to pitch against the Red Sox tonight. I would have started there.
Controllable young pitching is what they need, right? That would have been the first thing. But again, it goes back to they were really done with him in the organization, going back all the way to spring training because he showed up out of shape. You know, I had people telling me like he's not in shape. I don't know if he can even be the DH because he's not ready. So there was an anger, and then. How about if you have a guy like Ortiz who's trying to reach out to him as a leader, as a former player who knows everyone said David should talk to him about being a DH. He wouldn't return his texts. He wouldn't return his phone calls. I mean, so in that situation, if you're part of a team and you're trying to win, what do you do?
But in all fairness, Ortiz has like about 6 phones. So I don't know. He probably did like hit him back on one of his numbers. I don't know if David was checking it. But Dan, you say it started in spring training. I'm starting to wonder if it started 2 years ago, if it's even before that. If the reports are true that he wouldn't do anything that the team asked him to do. I'm not doing
right after signing the deal, right?
I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And it's like any relationship. There's not one particular thing that really sets you off. It's just a cumulative effect.
And the other problem, you don't have any veterans.
Yeah, they were tired.
Right?
They were tired of him, but he was tired of them too. It was just like the bad workplace story where the employer doesn't trust the employee to do the right thing. The employee looks at the employer and says, you guys are effed up too. And it's just, it's so bad that he goes to San Francisco, because he did have a legitimate case if you think about it. He goes to San Francisco and plays a position that he's never played before. Like asking him to play first, if you look at it, if you're fair and just say, well, Rafael Devers has never been a first baseman, even in the minors. He's never done it. Now he's willing to go to San Francisco.
It's not just that he's willing to do it. It's that he went and took grounders at first base about 5 minutes after his press conference.
Just like, really, I'm so sick of you. I know you're sick of me. I hate you too. And it's just
it was like showing off.
It's like the worst. It's like the worst.
And there were no veterans to help in this situation. Right. When Manny got into trouble, when he started to go off the rails, there would be guys in that clubhouse who would shut the door
Millar,
and say,
Ortiz, a bunch of them.
I had situations when I was with them almost every day in the 04, 05, 06 time where they would literally shut the clubhouse and say, to the PR guy, tell Roachy to stay. And they would get Manny. They would say, Manny, you got to talk to him. What we talked about.
Really?
You got to do this because we got to get this out of the way and get everybody back on board, fans, everything else too, and let's resolve it. It happened a couple times. I'd be like, all right, what are we doing?
What would you add? The question is,
It was simple,
so many
John.
questions about Manny.
It was simple, because he had rehearsed it or whatever. Manny, we had this situation come up. What do you have to say about it? Oh, I'm sorry, man. It's my fault. That It's just how Manny was. He was like a little kid.
Turn
right?
the page.
Yes, he had his little sayings, right?
Turn the page.
But he was such a great hitter that they would, and that's what ended it back in 06 and after is he wouldn't even. They wanted him to stand in the batter's box. Like there were guys on that team that said, "Listen, Ortiz and everything else, just listen, Manny. We want you. I know you're injured. We want you to just get up and stand in the batter's box because it makes us a better team when opposing pitchers see you in the lineup."
I remember Manny
and he wouldn't do it.
3 straight fastballs and not swinging in
against
any
New York.
at-bat against New York. That's what I was thinking too.
Right.
He would just stand there, and it didn't matter. He wasn't going to swing just to prove a point. That's the other thing.
But here's the difference, though, John and Roachy. Here's the difference. You mentioned the personalities. This team is a reflection of management in that it lacks upper management, that it lacks an array of personalities. Or if they has personality, that those personalities are muted, they don't stand out, they're not distinct. And the fact that Craig Breslow wanted Devers out because this doesn't fit into the culture. Well, the culture doesn't necessarily mean, like Devers, some of his actions were indefensible. But a good culture doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's the same. So you have, in your case, you're talking about, you have somebody like Veritek, who is a strong, quiet leader. And then you have Millar and Ortiz, who are vocal leaders. And you have guys in the bullpen and starting pit. You have Josh Beckett in 07. You have all these different types of guys. Whereas I'm looking at the 2025 Red Sox, who are 2 veterans that could even have who's got the credibility, who's got
Bregman, and he's hurt.
Yeah, okay, so Bregman is one of them, but
he's new.
It's his first year here. Walker Buehler, it's your first year here. Garrett Crochet, it's your first year here.
But
Rafaela, you're too young.
But you mentioned
William
Crochet.
Abreu, you're not. You don't have the chops for it.
You mentioned Crochet, and he's the one name that sticks out to me because he is so good at what he does. He'll have that cachet. Maybe not right now.
That's the problem.
But
going forward, you're right.
No, but he's the guy. He's getting paid like the guy. If he pitches in the All-Star game, maybe second half of the season, he can kind of ease into that role. But you're right, it's too early.
And by the way, we can end this discussion if you want. If we take a break, John, the one thing I would do today, and I would have already done it, if you're Craig Breslow, is I would have ripped up the contract of Alex Bregman, and I'd sign it to a 4 or 5 year deal.
Let's
establish that in that clubhouse.
Let's
today.
use that kind of as a jumping off point. I want to continue the discussion. 617-779-0985. We'll take a break. More Red Sox talk after this. The headlines are next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Red Sox will continue their 9-game West Coast road trip tonight in San Francisco against Rafael Devers and the Giants. Hunter Dobbins will start the opener. Devers, by the way, now 3 for 11 in 3 games for his new team. He was 1 for 3 in a 2-1 Giants win over Cleveland yesterday afternoon. Sox also made some news yesterday. They sent rookie Christian Campbell down to AAA Worcester. William Abreu will be activated from his brief rehab stint with the Woo Sox and will take Campbell's spot on the roster. For the first time in 9 years, we'll have a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. That's because Indiana blew out Oklahoma City last night, 108-91 in Indianapolis. Obi Toppin, 20 points for the Pacers, but they cleared the bench in the fourth quarter after pushing their lead as high as 30. Game 7 for the title is Sunday night in Oklahoma City. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Boston Vision. Make 2025 the year you ditch the glasses and contacts and start seeing 2020 with a LASIK procedure from the team at Boston Vision. Book a free evaluation today at bostonvision.com. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9 o'clock.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
On Monday with better music. We've been talking about the Red Sox, and we talked about what's in the past. I want to talk about what Rochi thinks is going to happen in the future. But first, let's talk to Angelo and Everett. Angelo, what's up?
Hey, guys. How you doing? I just think this whole Rafael Devers issue could have been
Bregman over Devers. Well, you had both, and now you're losing one.
Is it wrong that I think of
I don't
this-
want to. If I have Bregman and Devers, I don't want to lose Bregman and keep Devers. I don't want to lose Devers and keep Bregman. I want both of them.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree with you guys. I want to keep both of them, but it didn't work out that way. The Red Sox made a big boo boo. And look what they did. They lose one of the best generational players around. But Bregman, I think, will help the situation offset a little bit. My opinion.
Well,
so
here's
does
the
this
thing.
become
hold
a
on.
bridge year?
Let's answer the Bregman question first. You said before we went to break, if you were Craig Breslow, you would tear up Bregman's current contract. Bregman is making $40 million this year, but he can opt out. And if you're Alex Bregman, and let's say he comes back and hits, why would you want to stay?
Right. He's playing. He's betting on himself. And he's playing great right now.
So suppose he's been out for a while, but
he was playing great. Yeah.
So suppose he hits 310 with 25 homers and 100 RBIs. That's still very much possible. Why would you stay to get put in the middle of this situation? I mean, this team isn't a contender this year. They're probably not going to be a contender next year, regardless of how good the hitting is or how good the pitching is.
I was going to say they're a playoff team right now.
I mean,
they are.
You think they're going to stay that way?
Well, I don't know, but I'm saying
I don't think so.
But if I'm Bregman, I understand what Rochi's saying, but for Bregman, it's just all business. So why would I? It's not about why would I. I'd stay for the right money. If I opt out and I get the contract that is worthy of my talent, okay, whether it's Boston, Baltimore, or the Los Angeles Angels, I'm going to take the best deal. So it's not going to be an emotional decision.
So what kind of contract? Well, hold on.
You think it'd be emotional?
I think from the sense of I would call him in, sit him down, and say, listen, we made this commitment to each other for this year, right? It hasn't worked out. You've been banged up. We've seen what's happened. But this is an opportunity for us to grow as an organization with you and help us lead us to that next championship. And at what's he going to be, 32 next year? Let's sign you to a 4-year deal, 5-year deal even, and get you as a place setter here in a market that you love, that you thrive on because you want to talk baseball 24/7. You want to live, eat, breathe baseball 24/7. Let's get some veterans in here. Let's get some pitching to go with you, and then you help these kids.
Sounds lovely,
as
Rochi.
we go together.
How much money are we talking?
Well,
that's what Bregman wants to know.
You have to start at $40 million.
I'm not saying that you don't pay him. I'm just saying that you be competitive.
But for him
and get a deal done.
So what is that? So tell me what that is. Is it 40? Is it 4?
Has to be. Why would he take a discount?
I was going to say 150, 160.
Has to be 4 years on 160. You think this team is going to spend $40 million a year on a guy approaching his mid-30s? That goes against everything John Henry stands
But
for.
I think in this situation, this is what you have to do.
But this is how you backed yourself into a corner with Rafael Devers a couple of years ago. I mean, that's the problem. If he's 33, 34, 35.
But you can afford that, John, because you're going to have all these young players not making any money for 5 years.
Which is what they love.
Yeah.
I'm with John. I don't think they want to do it. Your scenario makes perfect sense. And this is how the Boston Red Sox should be operating.
Correct.
But I don't think they want to do big contracts. They don't want to. Not with their own guys. It's the weirdest thing. They usually they will pay if Alex Bregman were not here. They would be like, "Oh yeah, let's go get Alex Bregman,"
which they did. Right.
But now that he's here, I don't think they would give him a big contract.
No, they'll give contracts. The goal of the Red Sox, and this has been very, very obvious the last 3 or 4 years, is to draft kids, develop them, get them here, and sign them to incredibly team-friendly deals. Christian Campbell, Ceddanne Rafaela, Brian Bale. These are the guys they see as the future. They signed Garrett Crochet to the big deal because they had to. So the deal is they want to get Roman Anthony signed to a 6 or 7 year contract. They want to get Marcelo Myers signed
and he's like, hell
to a
no.
6 or 7 year contract.
Not right now.
No, not right now. But the point is, those are the deals. They want to be the Tampa Bay Rays. who signed Evan Longoria a week into his rookie season. That's the goal.
I
That's
get that
the model.
But I think in Boston right now, with what's happened, with the face of Devers gone, I think you have to do something like this. And then I have to do something like 2012 Ben Cherington and find your Napolis, your Victorinos, your Dempsters, those guys to bring in to go with these young guys and grow as an organization with Crochet set, with the young guys set. I think that's how you grow together, and that's how you show your Boston fans that we're committed to winning.
It really is if you think about it, if you take the personalities out of it, is Devers, does he have a point? Does the team have a point? If you take that out of it, it's really a bold move from Breslow to bank on. I was saying the 3 guys, but now you're banking on 2 because the third guy was sent down. So you got Christian Campbell and Worcester. You are really saying, hey, we think that along with Wilyer Abreu and Rafaela, we think that Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer, that's enough to keep us, not only to keep us in playoff contention, but to reach the goal that a lot of people had for us before the season started, to either make the playoffs or win the division with kids.
See,
wow. I mean, it could energize the team or it could go the other way quickly. Scary.
But here's the thing. I think he made this decision knowing that his job is not in danger. Like, they hired Chaim Bloom.
How do you know that?
Well,
not how do you know? But if they hire Breslow, how do you know that?
I think Breslow has gotten assurances because he has made this bold, sweeping move, executed a horrible trade, but got rid of the contract, which I think the Red Sox, as we've discussed, want to happen. Why did they hire Chaim Bloom? They hired Chaim Bloom to cut spending and build the farm system.
And to trade Mookie Betts.
And to be
the face of it. Yeah.
That's just it. Here, we're going to throw it. But he did all of that and kept his job far longer than a lot of us thought he would.
But the same thing. No. He did. He told them, because there's a story to be told here with Chaim Bloom. He told them what it was going to take. They agreed with him. I have it on good authority. They agreed.
Interesting.
And they kind of a little bait and switch on him. Like, wait a minute, wait. I've done everything I told you what I was going to do. I did everything you wanted me to do. And now you're blaming me for how this thing has gone. So if you're Craig Breslow, you can get all the assurances that you want. It's
nothing.
This is big business, baby. So now
if this fails, you think Breslow is going to get fired?
Yes.
You think it'll be at the end of this year?
So, I'm just saying, if it fails,
I don't think at the end of this year.
But if it fails, it will be on him. They're not going to blame themselves.
If I was Craig Breslow, I would do what I said with Bregman, but I would also go into veterans and everything else, and I would tell the marketing team, I would tell Sam Kennedy, listen, sell it. Let's go all in. Push all your chips into the table. We're going to win with Anthony, Meyer. The kids are leading us. The kids are all right. Any marketing campaign you want to go with Crochet and Company and just go all in if I'm Breslow, right? Because you're gonna goodbye,
right,
or you're gonna have this team that's gonna become this machine that you want for 4, 5, 6 years.
All right, we'll continue the Red Sox discussion coming up, and also we'll get into some basketball. The NBA draft is coming up. The NBA season has a Game 7 in front of us. Jeff Goodman will join us next hour. One more hour to go. Friday edition of Toucher and Hardy here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. his new team. Red Sox also made some news yesterday by sending rookie Christian Campbell down to AAA Worcester. Willie Abreu will be activated from his brief stint with the Woo Sox and take Campbell's spot on the Major League roster. In the NBA news, we're going to have a Game 7 of the Finals this year. Indiana beat Oklahoma City last night, 108-91. Pacers led by as many as 30 in the fourth quarter. Game 7 Sunday night back in Oklahoma City, and ESPN is reporting the Celtics' asking price for either Jaylen Brown or Derek White in a trade would be, quote, insurmountable, unquote. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by 128 Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric, the company that finishes every job strong. If your home or business has a plumbing, HVAC, electrical, or drain issue that can't wait, you need to call 128 now at 888-CALL-128. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
Listen to it, laugh at it, get mad at it, agree with it, argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Why do people listen to Toucher?
Because it's a thing.
All right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
No idea what you're talking about.
Here's more of the thing on the
Common sense she's great at. Driving with her was no problem. The first time I drove in the car with my son, when I took him out driving, I literally was like, "You're gonna hit the curb. You're gonna hit the curb. You're gonna hit the bush. You're gonna hit the bush. You're gonna hit the curb." He kept driving tight to the right, and I'm like,
"Why are you doing this?"
Yes, I still feel the feeling in my body. It was I had this whole tightness and tension. You're gonna wreck the car. What are you doing?
Wait a minute, you got angry?
Not angry, no, just tense.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, "This sucks."
Did you ever say, just let me just put just a little bit, just
go a little bit,
a little bit to the
bit.
left, just a little,
please.
Well, we're going to have Jeff Goodman on at 9:20 to talk about the NBA Finals and the upcoming NBA Draft. He's got a couple good stories about the kids involved in that. The NBA Draft is next week. Kind of snuck
NHL
up on
too,
everyone.
right?
NHL one also. The Bruins have the 7th overall pick. I have a question to ask both of you about that as we get later on in the hour. But Christian has a bone to pick with Michael Holley. Christian, what's happening?
Hey, not a bone to pick with Michael, actually. Just laughing at his comment about how the Red Sox don't want to pay the guys that are here, but they're willing to pay the guys that aren't here. Michael,
Yes.
You're describing just about every corporation in America right now, and that's the way the Red Sox are being run. Red Sox fans need to get used to that.
Yeah, you're right. You are right. It's
We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
Right? It seems like a lot of these teams are run with less communication.
No question.
Less
We were just
speaking,
we
more
were just talking about
stats.
this, Christian. You're on. You're
It's
spot
just
on.
like
We were
you
having this
want that
conversation during the break.
face-to-face conversations of like, Michael, you join us. How you doing? Just to see him in the same thing. John, how's everything going today? You see and hear that, and it's just like, come on. You know what I mean? It's like, just get it. Like old school GMs like Lou Gorman and what have you, and Mike Port and those guys, and Dan Duquette to some degree.
No,
VOFC.
no. I'm not giving you Duquette.
All right.
No.
Do I get a mulligan?
But to some
Yes,
some
on
degree,
that you do. You don't get Duquette.
But to some degree, now Duquette would pick he'd had his people. That he was problematic in a different way, where if he brought you on, if you were one of his guys, then he would communicate with it. Like Duquette loved Nomar. Remember how he used to just like, he thought Nomar was going to be the next pope. I mean, he just like everything. Nomar, he does everything right. He trains the right way. He loved him. Mo Vaughn, he didn't. Pedro, he loved Pedro because he brought him in. He loved Manny because he brought him in. And so,
well, he showed up at Manny. I saw they did a documentary on this. He showed up in a contract in hand with Manny that had $160 million on it. Manny loved him after that.
Yeah, but it was. But Dan's right. There is an old school way of doing business that like some general managers still have it. But a lot of guys who are just looking at, hey, this is our plan.
And I
this
think
is
the
our 3-year plan.
do that,
The numbers, right? It's all numbers.
That's like I have a great Lou Gorman, who I loved. I did a radio show with him on the weekends for 3 years.
Loved accumulating right-handed hitting first baseman.
He tells the story of like, this is how you go out and get players, and it was different back then. So this was in 19 whatever. San Mateo, California. He gets told to look at this guy that they're probably going to sign and pick in the first round, and he was told you can't talk to him, and you can't talk to the coach. You could just go sit with the scouts and watch them play. That's it. So he said, Lou goes, I pull up, I get out of my car, and I'm walking. I have to go by the dugout to get to where all the scouts and everybody else, I think he was a GM then with Kansas City. And I'm walking by, and all of a sudden, the manager of the team, the high school team, jumps out of the dugout. Lieutenant Gorman, so-and-so, I served under you in the Navy, and da-da-da-da-da-da. He goes, the scouts are like, whoa, and everything else. Next thing I know, I'm sitting in the dugout with the scout. I'm talking to George Brett, and I'm talking to another player that eventually signed with us in the Royals or whatever. But that's how I got George Brett, because of relationships and people and how you treat people. And this guy in the Navy was like all in on him because of that. Like, and those little things I don't know if they happen as much anymore. But those are the kind of things, more communication, especially in the baseball world, where you're talking to guys on a daily basis and getting to know them. There seems to be an awkwardness right now in the game that shouldn't be there.
And then you mentioned personality, like in any workplace. If I tell you, I have the 5 most talented, whatever industry you're in, I have the 5 most talented people. Do you want to hire them? And an analytics person will say, sure. Somebody with some experience can say, okay, what are they like? So maybe I don't want all 5. Maybe I want 3 of those people because they work well together. But all these 5 personalities don't necessarily go fit into the workplace culture that I envision. And I need somebody who is, okay, maybe we have 3 Ivy Leaguers over here, but I need somebody from Babson because I like this. Or I need somebody from, I got all these people from the East Coast. But I need somebody from the Midwest. I need somebody from the West Coast just to balance it out. And I just don't think analytics considers just the personality of it, how your skills, John, will complement Dan's skills. They don't look at it like that.
But the problem is when you talk about analytics, and Bert Breer said it right, analytics should be used as a guardrail. You do your business, and then if you're veering off to one side, say, okay, the analytics say we're veering too far off. You know what I'm saying? That's something that teams don't do. They're either all in or all out for the most part. I mean, Tampa Bay had a theory. Okay, we can't have any of our pitchers face a lineup a third time. And it wound up costing them a World Series.
Sure did.
One of the worst decisions ever in the history of the game.
It was so bad.
Yeah, was it Blake Snell, right?
Yeah.
Was it Snell?
Didn't measure hard.
He was shutting them down.
Yeah. Throwing the game of his life.
The Dodgers are like, okay, thanks.
Throwing a no-hitter.
Had no
World Series game.
Had no chance.
That's
they had no
Tampa
chances.
Bay. They run their organization a certain way, and it cost them. The Red Sox, I thought at one point, especially when Theo was here, used analytics correctly. And I don't know how they lost their way, but they did. And this is what we're left with. It's addition by subtraction. Devers not being here, we'll fill in with all of these hitters. We'll have Abraham Toro hit second. Everything will be fine. Well, look, we're winning all these games. Well, you're not scoring any runs. The reason you're winning all of these games is because the pitchers are having career outings back to back to back to back to back. You've gone a turn and a half through the rotation. No one's given up more than 4 runs.
Well, I mean, and not to cross sports here, but I can't help looking at your hoodie, and seeing Celtics like emblazoned on your hoodie. And look, the Celtics last year, when there was a Wall Street Journal, I think it was a Wall Street Journal story, where they're following around Joe Mazzulla and Mike Zarin, and they capture an exchange after the championship. Hey, this is what happens when math works out. No, you didn't win the championship because of math. You didn't win the championship because you valued the 3 more than the 2. You won a championship. You got the 2 best wings in the league, a duo. You have Tatum and Brown, and you got everything together. And you had that group where you had the old guy like Horford who fits in with Drew Holiday and Porzingis. That's why you won. I think it's a problem. This is how you know analytics has gone too far. When you think you win championships because of analytics. Yeah. When you think when that's your number one, you've lost it. And I think the Celtics, the Celtics, we saw that in the Knicks series.
They lost their
they kind of lost their way where
stubborn.
they just kept going and going back to the well, and common sense was just drowned out in those two games against the Knicks at home.
Well, it's more specifically, I don't want to get too lost on this particular topic, but if you want to talk about how the Celtics lost their way, they had tons of open shots, 3-point shots for guys that usually make 3-point shots and didn't. Joe Mazzulla's offense worked. The players didn't execute it properly. That's how I saw that series. That's how I saw it.
What's his position?
Joe Mazzulla's the head coach.
Oh, he's the coach.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
well, you were saying valuing the 3 over the 2 ultimately was their downfall.
So the coach can't say, hey, Karl Anthony Towns is out of shape and in foul trouble. Jalen Brunson is in shape and in foul trouble and a bad defender. And you've got them on the ropes, and you're going to take threes instead of going into the lane and get these guys out of the game, follow them out of the game.
They're so
that's
conditioned to take
that's
3-point
coaching.
shots.
Right, that's what I'm saying, but that's coaching. That's the coach.
But the shots were open, Michael.
Well,
all
sorry,
of them.
I don't
all
care.
Of them were open.
I don't care that it's open.
They were all
I don't
there.
care. You don't just.
They missed how many?
They're not all equal.
Tatum missed a bunch of layups in that game.
If it's open shot and you've missed your last 6, and it's open, don't take it.
No, they were.
Go to the basket.
3's worth more than 2, Michael.
Don't take it.
You notice he's wearing that Celtics hoodie. It's
Situation.
Like in his brain, in his soul. That and the hat, right?
I'm cloaked in green.
You are.
And he's talking like it.
617-779-0985. Before we get to Jeff Goodman, who is coming up next, I wanted to get your opinion, Dan, on a couple of things. First of all, is Alex Cora's job in trouble in any way, shape, or form, regardless of how the season plays out?
No.
Why?
They just signed him to a 3-year extension.
I know that, but
I think he's showing and he's doing everything that he possibly can to keep this ship going in the right direction and all afloat. And they're in a wild card spot right now as we speak with everything that's happened to them.
At the same time, now he has to lead all the young players. His skills are now needed more than any other time. He's got a bunch of spare parts that he somehow has to fit together like a jigsaw puzzle every night to win games. He has a bullpen. He has to pretty much do that too every night to win games, because if you take out these 2 weeks, starters are averaging, 5 innings a night? I mean, you have to hope they don't blow this bullpen out before August.
With what you said, what did you just say to me earlier about this team, minus Rafael Devers?
There's a gigantic hole in that lineup they can't fix.
Well, then that's Alex Cora's argument when you're done, right? What did you want me to do? You know, we got rid of the guy that we thought we should have gotten rid of, but now this is going to take a lot more. And we need to have a lot more work to do. It's not on me. I've done everything I can. Look, we lost Devers, and we went right in there and took 2 out of 3. Now, can we continue this with pitching and defense and go? Do we get better? So
unless you blame him for the reason you've lost Devers. Yeah,
right.
So you're like, hey, what do you want me to do?
That's an organizational discussion that needs to take place between everybody.
What do I want you to do?
Right?
You're the communicator. That's what I keep hearing. You're supposed to be the guy. How could you let it get to this point? And he did a poor job. The organization did, but I think Cora did a poor job post Devers' move to DH of just explaining things. Like what he was never really clear. Are you for Devers? Are you against Devers? Do you want him to play third? Do you want him to play first? Do you think he's fine? Was he hustling? Was he slacking? Even remember that in New York. So, hey, did Devers have a problem there? Oh, no, there's no problem. Is he hurt? Well, no. So, is it a lack of hustle? No, it wasn't a lack of hustle.
I think at that point he was
What the hell was it?
But I think he was caught between the GM and the player.
How so?
That Breslow was the one trying to convince him to go play this position, that position, what have you.
No, I'm saying about the New York thing and when he didn't.
In that situation, though, I think he's just trying to protect Rafi, right? That's what he does in those situations.
So protection is saying he's not hurt, but he wasn't. It wasn't a lack of hustle. So is that protection or confusion?
Yeah, I could see that. You know what I mean? But
if you're the Red Sox, and that's
hold on, I got to think about that.
See, you actually stopped him in his tracks.
Yeah, you
that
did.
Was impressive. And I agree with you, Michael. That's one factor. The other factor is, okay, they're in position now. to make the playoffs. They have the third wild card. What if the Red Sox, what if these kids don't hit? What if Abraham Toro turns back into Abraham Toro?
Yeah.
What if Wilyer Abreu turns back into Wilyer Abreu? What if this team wins 77 or 76 games? Then where's the blame? Alex Cora is a perfect fall guy for that. He does his best, but you put it together before. What happened in the second half of the season?
Especially if you think from a general manager's perspective, if you think these guys are they just need to be unlocked by the right communicator. let's say you look
said
at
that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be much better. I think this.
Yeah.
I see a way that this team could be even better.
Because I can't wait to see it. Because from where I sit, I'm like, well, they like Wilyer Abreu a lot more than I do. They like Rafaela a lot more than I do. I think these are all interesting players. But when I look at great play, even Jarren Duran, All-Star Game MVP last year, I don't think he's a great player. I think they have one great player on their in their lineup. I think they have one, and he's not playing right now. It's Bregman. No,
okay.
I think like Bregman.
Okay.
I think could play for anybody.
Yes.
So they have intriguing pieces and one great player. I think they have one great pitcher in the starting rotation and bullpen. One great pitcher, Crochet. Everybody else is interesting. So do they look at it that way? I don't think so. I think they look at their talent with a lot more regard.
Well, that'll be the judge of Alex then, how they look at their talent and how they look at their results.
I think
right?
I think if this team bottoms out, if this team struggles in the second half, and by the way, if they don't hit, that's what's going to happen. I think you absolutely revisit Alex Cora.
It's also part of what you're dealing with young players, right? You don't know these kids. They're going to struggle. They're going to be great, maybe. They're going to struggle. We've seen it already with Christian Campbell. So he goes down there. Does he come back, and is he a better player? We've seen that before, where a guy goes down there for a month, comes back, and he's lights out again.
And now they have to.
They have to perform.
Well, they have to perform because what's the backup plan?
There's no other
You
plan.
can't send Anthony back down. This is it. Now
All right.
you got to believe it.
We got to break because Jeff Goodman is next. We'll talk a little bit about the NBA, a little bit about the upcoming NBA draft. We'll go back to Red Sox, and then we'll wrap this show up. All that is coming up next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports.
Analyst for the stadium covering hoops on all levels. Jeff, good morning.
What's up, boys? What a trio we have in today, huh?
Yeah, it's Michael Holley, who knows more about basketball than anyone I've ever met. Dan Roach, who knows more about baseball than everyone I've ever met. And I'm just kind of here.
What do you know?
I don't know.
What do you know?
You know what I know? I know you, Jeff. I know you.
Knows more about play-by-play than anyone here.
There you go.
He's our play-by-play guy.
Thank you so much. So, Jeff Goodman, the reason we're here, well, let's talk. The reason you're here is, let's talk about the NBA Finals last night and the unpredictability out of all of it. If you had given me 30 guesses as to what was going to happen last night, Indiana leading by 30 in the fourth quarter went up at the bottom of the list.
I don't know about the bottom with these playoffs, but yes, I agree. I wouldn't have picked that one. But there have been so many blowouts this playoffs that, I'm watching and I'm like, all right, yeah, this is another one of those. And frankly, it won't surprise me if OKC bounces back and they beat Indiana by double figures in Game 7. I hope that's not the case. I'm kind of pulling. It's hard because both of these teams are likable, right? Like, there's nobody that's probably unlikable on either team. I mean, some people probably don't love Tyrese Halliburton, maybe. But I don't think there's a turd on either team. There's just not a big enough name. And I fault, guys, I really do. I fault the TV networks for this because nobody knows who the hell Shai Gilgeous-Alexander really is. Nobody knows Tyrese Halliburton other than, like, his dad. Like, the TV networks have done an atrocious job of doing what they used to do, which is telling the stories of who these guys are, especially these guys who aren't LeBron, Kobe, Shaq, some of those, the guys you already knew.
The part of the problem, though, is, Jeff, and we're going to see this moving forward with the new CBA in the National Basketball Association, you're going to get guys like this who don't necessarily have the big personality. Halliburton's trying, but he really doesn't have it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's cardboard, and he may be the best player on the planet, but he's boring to watch. And if you had Anthony
Edwards,
think
he's boring to watch?
I don't
think he's boring to watch.
Well, he's not a high. Look,
I mean, he's the MVP of the league. He's in commercials. I mean,
but he doesn't do commercials alone.
Hey, you want to know who's going to be boring?
Chet Holmgren's the
you
star
want to
of
know
those
who's going to be boring to talk to? I'll give you the most vanilla person I've talked to over the last 20 years. And we'll get into this. This is a good segue. You probably don't want to go into it. Cooper Flagg. Flag.
We'll talk about Cooper Flagg in a second.
Well,
we'll talk about Cooper Flagg in a second because Michael Holley has very strong feelings about Cooper Flagg. So, but ultimately, the NBA CBA is going to make sure that you have different teams in the finals every year, smaller market teams in the finals almost every year. And when that happens, if you don't have that signature star, if you don't have a high flyer like an Anthony Edwards, if you don't have a big market like the New York Knicks with those kinds of fans you could put cameras on, you might wind up with low TV ratings over and over and over. And when I say Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is cardboard, what I mean is he's not outspoken. He doesn't live. His game isn't in the air. His game is being like a sports car and weaving through people on the ground. That's not the type of appeal that the average NBA fan is going to gravitate towards.
Well, a lot of these guys are worried about their brand, right? So they're worried about saying the wrong thing, whether it's being crucified for tweeting the wrong thing, saying it's a different era, no doubt, and a year ago, I mean, again, I don't think even people knew, and Jason Tatum is not a guy who's out there, but he's grown up a lot. It still would have been great to hear his story, about being raised by his mom, single, she used to take him to class when she was getting her law degree. Like, they just don't do that anymore. So it's like you feel no connection to these players because you don't know who the hell they are because nobody's done these great stories that we used to have done before every game.
But I would say, in all fairness, like our generation, we'd say TV networks need to do more. Their generation, like, yeah, I'm telling my story all the time. I have 25 million or 20 million Instagram followers.
Yeah,
I'm doing social media. Yeah. I don't need the network to tell my stories. I've already told my story.
And Jalen, by the way, do not fade Derek White. I pray to God they don't trade Derek White for some superstar.
The latest is that it's going to take an insurmountable package to get either Jaylen Brown or Derek White away. And that Desmond Bain trade for 4 first-round picks and a pick swap, that sets the floor for either one of those two, because both of those guys are better than Bain.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I just think Derek White is such a culture guy, too. You know, I wouldn't want to deal with him because of all the intangibles plus what he brings, and his contract is favorable right now going forward. I just think, again, if you're Missoula and you look down the roster and you say to yourself, hey, listen, like, we don't have a bunch of Kyle Korbers and these elite shooters on our team. Let's pull back a little bit and understand and play to our strengths. And some nights your strength might be making 50%, 40% of your threes. Then you want to jack 40, go ahead. But if we're not making them, guys, you know, let's play the right way. And instead of jacking these horrible contested threes that make no sense, let's find other ways to win.
So with that said, Jeff, what is Brad Stevens, in your mind, what does he do here with what's in front of him as he tries to
It's going to be hard because – yeah, I mean, Porzingis' trade value is at its absolute lowest, right? I mean, forget about the injuries and worrying about that. Now you have these health issues that you don't know if you trade for him, you know, if they could creep up again at a time like the postseason. So Porzingis, I almost feel like, man, I wouldn't want to trade him today. I'd want to make sure you get him on the court again, especially without Tatum. If he plays and is healthy for a stretch, then you deal him. Get his value back up before you deal Porzingis. Drew Holiday, love him. If you can get him and package him with picks, I think you'd do that at this point. You know, I hate to say it, but I do think the best thing that can happen to the Celtics team next year is, you know, somebody gets hurt. Nothing major, but like they don't play well out of the gate. Somebody gets hurt, and then they kind of shut it down, and somehow they get in the lottery. The top 3 or 4 picks are really, really, really good. This isn't a one-man draft a year from now like we're talking about right now with Cooper Flagg. You've got, you know, Brockton's own A.J. DeMonsa. Mm-hmm. You've got Cam Boozer, Carlos Boozer's son, and you got Darren Peterson Jr. Going to Kansas. Boozer's going to Duke like his dad did. Mm-hmm. Obviously, A.J. we know is going all the way out to BYU from Brockton. It'll be interesting there. So those 3 guys are like ones, and then there's others. A kid named Nate Ament, who's like 6'10", long, athletic, and shooter. He's going to Tennessee. So all I'm saying is next year's draft, guys, is going to be loaded at the top.
Okay, real quick, because you brought up the NBA draft.
Yeah.
A couple of things. We'll get to Cooper Flagg in a second, but I keep reading stories about Ace Bailey and how he won't work out for the Philadelphia 76ers.
It's so entertaining.
And now his stock is falling. He was supposed to be the 3rd overall pick. He was supposed to be 6'10". He's really 6'7". He's acting very strangely, but I remember an Ace Bailey story you told us on this show when you tried to interview him. What was it, right out of high school after he got the NIL agent?
Right before the season.
Okay,
right
tell us the story.
Season.
Tell us the story.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be dying to know what Holly thinks of this because as a longtime writer. So I had heard rumblings that Ace Bailey was not doing interviews because his agent was asking for money, and like real money, not like $100, $200. So I called his agent, who's Omar Cooper, represents no NBA players, father of Sharif Cooper, who played at Auburn, was suspended for a while, is now, I think, playing overseas or the G League or something like that. So I called Omar, kind of knowing this ahead of time, what I was going to be in for. And we went back and forth, and he's like, he's not doing on-camera interviews unless, you know, there's money involved. I said, are you kidding me? Like, I've been doing this for 25 years. I'm not paying. You know, I can help the kid's brand. You know, why would you want to do this and shut him down from this? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to interview the kid and make him look good. I'm going to have some fun with him. I'm going to have him tell his story, whatever. And that was red flag number 1. Obviously, I didn't pay $1. I'm never paying $1 for interviewing a kid like that. But and then you got this, you know, a small-time agent who's now trying to flex his muscles a little bit and saying, we're not going and working out for these teams. We want basically a promise. We want a promise, you know, for Philly, you're going to take us. But, like, why would Daryl Morey do that with all the red flags already he's hearing? Beyond my story, there's plenty of others. He would want to sit down with Ace Bailey and get a feel for Ace Bailey, the kid, before he makes any sort of promise, and probably wants to see him work out as well.
That's amazing.
So you don't
That's
you
amazing.
think you have the leverage. Right. You think you're not Bill Duffy. You're not Mark Bartelstein. You're not Jeff Schwartz. You're not one of these big-time agents. You have no leverage. To me, let the kid go and prove people wrong that maybe – and I actually talked to Ace in Vegas at the Players Era tournament around Thanksgiving, and he's a likable kid. But, again, sometimes that's the problem. You have representation that absolutely kills it for these kids.
That would scare me to death. Hey, I'm gonna need to get paid to do an interview, and you're right.
Right.
Goodman, what do I think of it? I think you made 100% the right call. I know Roach thinks the same way. There's no way you're gonna pay for an interview. So the kid says,
how much?
The agent says, what do I get out of it as a reporter? What do you get out of it? Like interviewing Ace Bailey.
You can have. Yeah. Here's what I said to him. He goes, "Well, you make money off the interview." I said, "You know what? You can have the $10 I make off how many people are going to view that on YouTube. You can have I'll give you the $10 or $12. That's what it's going to be. You can have it."
All right, real quick, tell me your Cooper Flag theory, Michael Holley, because I know Jeff Goodwin would love to hear this.
I know he probably disagrees. Look. I think Cooper Flag is going to be a really good NBA player. And I'm looking at the list of number one picks through the years. Some really good players. Banchero, Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, Zion. Like, some really good players picked first overall. I guess what I'm skeptical of, what I'd be nervous about is if you think that drafting Cooper Flag will take you to some other level. He's going to be some generational talent. I know he's going to be a good player. Generational talent, that's where I get a little nervous and say, that's no guarantee. When people ask me, would you trade Jaylen Brown for the number one pick? I wouldn't. I know some people would. I would not. And you think that's crazy, don't you?
I would be surprised if Cooper Flag isn't a better NBA player than Jaylen Brown. I would be surprised if Cooper Flag isn't a better player when it's all said and done than Tyrese Haliburton.
How about Wembanyama? How about Wemby?
No. I'm not putting him there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so would you say generational? Because as I look at the list of number one picks between from LeBron to now, the only generational guy since 2003, I would say, is Wemby, right? Like,
I mean, yes, but if you get, I'm not saying he's generation. Okay. I'm not arguing with you there. I'm not arguing with you. I'll argue with you. I went into this year at Duke saying I think he might be able to be a number one guy on an NBA team. Okay, maybe, and I thought he'd be better served as a number two guy on an NBA team. Now I've changed my tune after watching him all year at Duke, and now I feel like he can absolutely be a number one guy for an NBA team and take them maybe even to the title.
Give me a guy. Do you think he'll be better? Will he be better than Tatum or similar to Tatum?
Similar. Ooh, I think he can be similar to Jason Tatum. I think he can be a fringe, like a top five-ish player in the NBA for years. He is, listen, the thing about him, there's no holes in his game really, other than his perimeter shot, which still he shot it well this year, but that's not a strength. But it'll get better because the kid is a worker. What sets this kid apart, man, is in this day and age of social media, of NIL, of all that, this kid played like none of that was in existence this past year. You know how many one-on-one interviews he did all year, Mike?
How many?
Zero.
Really?
Zero. Didn't want to cause any friction with his teammates at Duke. And he reminds me a lot of Kawhi Leonard in that way, of like not disrespectful to the media at all, was like nice when he's out there, doesn't say anything, but nice, respectful, all of that, has no interest, just wants to play ball. And when you watch him play ball, this dude never takes a possession off on either end of the court. His competitiveness is about as high as any college player I've seen, any forget freshmen, any college player I've seen since I've been covering it 25 years. So, like, all those intangibles, Michael, plus the athleticism, plus the skill, plus the ability to guard on the perimeter, in the post, block shots, run the court, pass the ball. Man, like, there's just no holes in this kid's game. You can't pick him.
See, I think we've learned something valuable here. Jeff is right, and Michael Holley's wrong. I like it. I like it, Jeff.
I'm on Jeff's side.
No, he's absolutely wrong.
No,
That's
Jeff,
what
don't
we
worry
found
about
out
it. This is how petty John gets when he's in that
no.
one chair. No. He said,
Jeff.
Jeff, he's got the final word, so let him have it. Hey.
Boy, look at the time, Jeff. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Good stuff, Jeff.
Hey, I got to throw a quick shout out before I go to a guy listening. And you should have on one of the top college refs in America is in Boston listening right now, John Gaffney. You should have him on. He'll tell some good stories one day.
How much would we have to pay him?
No, you do not.
Jeff,
maybe in beers.
Jeff,
in
I'll
alcohol,
tell you what.
You probably have to pay him.
Jeff, I'll tell you what. I'll text you. You give me his number. I'll see if we can get him on.
Done.
All right.
Thanks,
Jeff.
for
I
everything,
appreciate
guys.
it.
We'll talk soon.
See you, Jeff.
All right. We
Later.
have some good emails about the show that I have received. We got a couple other things to do before we get out of here. One more segment to the Friday program coming up next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headline.
for the next season. And then Steve Burton goes one-on-one with Hunter Henry. That's at 7 o'clock. Sports Finals Sunday night. We'll go one-on-one with Will Campbell, who I caught up with at Great Wolf Water Park in Fitchburg.
You've been to the Great. You take your kids to the Great Wolf Lodge there, Michael?
No.
Really?
No, I don't think. No, never been.
Okay.
No.
I thought that was supposed to happen for every Massachusetts resident.
I know.
I guess so. I guess I missed that. Now
there's a Dunkin' every 3 feet.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, actually, here's the thing. There's one Dunkin' Donuts in the entire lodge, and I woke up at 6:30 in the morning thinking I was going to beat the traffic. There's a line like down the hallway of like 50 people all waiting for the one.
And it's all water parks. We opened up. He opened up the Otter Cave part of the park.
Yeah. See, I missed it.
Buckets.
It sounds like fun.
It's all right.
Yeah, he got wet right in.
Okay, it's too late. It's too late now.
Real quick, an email from Jared. It says, Holly and John Wallace. Love this, miss this. Have a good weekend. When Michael and I used to work together, he would call me John Wallace. Do you remember why?
John Wallace, former Syracuse star, John Wallace.
Nice.
So that's why, right? Isn't that why I did?
As I remember it.
He has a different opinion.
As I remember
Or did I call you John Wallace one time accidentally?
Well,
and then I just kept doing it.
It was accidental after you and Michael Smith were co-hosting a show I was doing updates for, and I called you Michael Smith.
Oh,
so
okay.
Then you started calling
What
me.
if I call you John Wallace?
And you started calling me John Wallace.
Wallace.
Yes. And this one from Joe said, ask Rochi why today is his least favorite day of the year. You have any idea?
Today? Is today the summer solstice? Oh, shoot.
Why is that your least
now
favorite day?
going forward, we lose a minute of daylight all the way till December. It gets darker and darker. That sucks.
Gets darker
Why'd
and
you tell
darker
me
by
that?
day.
This has been Dan Roach's worst day, talking all Red Sox and mentioning the summer solstice. Guys, it's been fun.
No, good job. Good job running that point. You got your scoring in. You dished. You even got like 7-8 rebounds too.
It's good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. We'll be fully staffed on Monday morning.
Have a good life, fellas.
Thank you very much. Zolak and Bertrand are next. 12, Ryan.